Chapter 2472. The only one who did not feel anything was Big Brotherly Chung. Looking at the burning flames, Big Brotherly Chung did not even glance at it and quickly turned to look at Yang Chun. Yang Chun, are you not afraid of karma for burning such a large number of demonic beasts? Li Chung asked casually, but at the same time, it sounded like a warning. The moment Big Brotherly Chung spoke, the women immediately became nervous. This was not a small matter. Everyone looked worriedly at their husband, waiting for his reply. This was not a small number. Gong Sunling knew it the best. Even if she did not snatch many demonic beasts after refining the demonic beast realm, the number was still in the billions. It was easy to imagine how many demonic beasts Ao-san had refined in the demonic beast realm. Perhaps it was as Ao-san said, it was at least in the billions. Such a large number was burned to death by Yang Chen's fire. If this was calculated, it would not be a small number in terms of merit value. The women's worries were the same as Big Brotherly Chang's. Would their husband really bear this karma? Because strictly speaking, this karma should have been borne by A.O. Senator. If A.O.'s had not forcefully shared his life with these demonic beasts, such a thing would not have happened. This was what the women were truly thinking, but they did not say it out loud. In their hearts, their husband was the most innocent. However, from another perspective, this might not have nothing to do with Yang Chun. It was already a fact that Ao-san shared his life with these demonic beasts. However, Yang Chun wanted to kill Ao-san at this moment. Furthermore, he had already made it clear that every grievance had a perpetrator and every debt had a debtor. This karma was borne by Yang Chun. Therefore, no matter what, Yang Chun could not escape. However, if it was only 800 or 1,000, the women would definitely not make a sound. Even if the number was slightly larger, it would not have much of an impact on their husband. However, with this number, if all the lives involved were to be attributed to Yang Chun, then wouldn't their husband be in danger? What should they do? The people of the Dragon Clan also pricked up their ears, waiting for Yang Chen's reply. In the end, this should be an internal matter of the dragon race. Now, it was shouldered by Yang Chun. Everyone in the dragon race, from Ao Lan to Ao Lai, actually felt guilty. Now, it all depended on how Yang Chun would answer. When necessary, the entire dragon clan would follow Yang Chun. When Ao Lan understood this, his heart calmed down. In any case, the favor he owed in the past was already greater than the heavens. Owing another favor would only increase the karma, and he would be closer to Yang Chun. Madame Bai still had the same expression and attitude, as if this was not a big deal. Perhaps it was because she had lost so many memories that she didn't know what it meant. Lin Jingyuan was also thinking about how he would react if he was the one facing this situation. Others might not know, but as an expert from the Immortal realm, Xiao Chan was very clear on what kind of beneficence such a huge karma was, and what kind of concept it was in the Immortal realm. No matter who this karma belongs to, since I am the one who killed them, it is my responsibility, Yang Chun replied with a faint smile, as if he had already considered this question. Yang Chen's words were very ingenious. There was a hypothesis at the beginning. No matter who it belonged to, this sentence was very profound. That was to say, whether right or wrong, Yang Chun was now completely shouldering this karma. As Xiao Chun said, I killed them, so the karma is my responsibility. You have to think this through carefully. This is not a small matter. Big Brotherly Chung started to advise Yang Chun to think this through. This involves so many lives. It is not something that can be resolved just by being influenced by the fiend Qi or being refined by Ao Senior. It is just some immeasurable beneficence. Right, Big Brother? Yang Chen's reply was very interesting. No one could understand what he said. Perhaps only Li Chung understood what was going on. Although Lin Jingyuan and Madame Bai had come down from the immortal world, they had come down before the upheaval in the heavenly court. They basically did not know what had happened after that. They did not understand what kind of beneficence Yang Chun had. Perhaps only Big Brotherly Chung, who could take away the Tao Ancestor Heavenly Essence pill from the corpse dump at the Immortal slaying platform, knew what Yang Chun was talking about. Others probably did not even dare to imagine what immeasurable beneficence was. They could not even imagine how much beneficence Yang Chun had. If you think that way, it is also a good thing. Big brother Li Chung finally revealed a smile. This was not the first time he had been satisfied with this little brother that he had acknowledged in the mortal world. This time, he was even more satisfied. Others did not understand what Li Chung and Yangchen meant. Perhaps they only thought that this was a transaction of beneficence, but they did not understand the deeper meaning behind it. Li Chung was very clear, and so was Yangchen. Actually, there was another big shot involved. Furthermore, it was a big shot that could stand shoulder to shoulder with a Tao ancestor. How did the demon world and Yao world come about? That was because a big shot had specially concentrated the demon chi and Yao chi of the three realms into the demon world and Yao world to benefit the three realms. This brought peace to the mortal world, the spiritual world, and the immortal world for billions of years. It could be said that the beneficence was immeasurable. However, these creatures from the demon world and Yao world had become a debt that big shot had to bear. Strictly speaking, this was not a matter of Ao, Sun, nor was it a matter of Yangchen, but a matter of that great character. However, Yangchen had also said that no matter who it was, now that he had to bear it, that big shot had no choice but to accept a huge favor from Yangchen. Such a huge favor should have already been karma. To have such a karma with a big shot that could easily control the three realms, and Yangchen only needed to pay a few immeasurable beneficence. It was simply too worth it. Even if Yangchen had to pay all the beneficence he got from the Immortal beheading platform, Yangchen was willing. Since you're not afraid of carrying the karma, then burn it to your heart's content. Big brother Li Chung also showed a smile on his face. Looking at the raging sea of fire over there, he slowly said, "Your yin-yang heaven-burning fire is actually not perfect. It is still far from being the real yin-yang heaven-burning fire." Everyone listened and was speechless for a while. This kind of fire was not enough to become the real yin-yang heaven-burning fire. What kind of real yin-yang heaven-burning fire would be like? What kind of enemy could bear it? There is a kind of fire that belongs to the karma fire. Big brother Li Chung said calmly, but it is different from the red lotus karma fire that you use to fuse. This kind of fire will never be produced naturally. Only when more than 1 trillion creatures are killed at one time will their unwillingness and resentment concentrate. Without this kind of karma fire, your yin-yang heaven-burning fire will not be complete. Chapter 2473. Elder brother Li Chung would never do meaningless things, nor would he say some meaningless words. This point was once again proven in the present situation. Yangchen's correct choice let elder brother Li Chung once again reveal a big secret, and also let Yangchen have the opportunity to take a look at the true appearance of what elder brother Li Chung called the all-living beings' karmic fire. No one would doubt Li Cheng's words. From everyone's long or short interaction with Li Chung, there was a common conclusion. That was, Li Chung never went to lie. How elder brother Li Chung knew the key to the yin-yang heaven-burning fire, this was not important. If the Tao ancestor's direct disciple did not even know this, Yangchen would instead doubt it. Yangchen was very happy. Originally, he just wanted to solve Ao Sun, and then solve the problem of the mountain river geographical map. Since Ao Sun shared a life with the monstrous beasts in the mountain river geographical map, if he wanted to kill Ao Sun, then no matter what, he had to kill these monstrous beasts. He did not expect that under elder brother Li Cheng's inquiry, there would be another surprise. Leaving a favor for the great figure whose name he still did not know was already a big surprise. But he did not expect that there was still the key information of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire hidden behind it. The yin-yang heaven-burning fire was a legendary flame. Even in Yangchen's previous life, he had only heard of it, but had never seen it. Even if it was only heard, it was also hearsay. There had never been a cultivator who could have such a flame. However, there was also the key karmic fire, but Yangchen heard it for the first time. It was necessary to ask elder brother Li Chung to explain it carefully. Carefully feel the resentment of the fire seed. Elder brother Li Chung did not shirk, and very carefully pointed out to Yangchen. It may be difficult to feel it one by one. However, when a few trillion monstrous beasts die painfully at the same time and the resentment produced, there will be a strong, unyielding will burning. Find it. Yangchen closed his eyes and carefully felt the kind of feeling that elder brother Li Cheng had said. To be honest, killing so many monstrous beasts at once, even if Yang Chun had already made a decision in his heart, when he really faced it, he was still a little nervous. Especially if these demon beasts were snatched by Gong Sunling from the other party's geographical map. There was still hope for them to regain their sanity and become real cultivators. However, the current situation forced Yang Chun to kill these demonic beasts if he wanted to kill AO Senator many years ago. The cultivators of the spirit realm used these demon beasts as training targets and killed them. However, Yang Chen's anxiety only lasted for less than a breath's time before he became firm. How could he, who could even kill the Jade Emperor, be troubled by these demonic beasts? With big brother Li Cheng's guidance, Yang Chen accurately found the burning will, and then carefully wrapped it with a white fire seed. Karmic fire was the most troublesome type of fire. If one was not careful, they would burn themselves to ashes. This kind of all-beings karmic fire was even more troublesome. Only the white fire seed, which seemed to be a level higher than all the other fire seeds, could barely control it. Of course, this was also big brother Li Cheng's guidance. He carefully wrapped up the all-beings karmic fire that had just been produced, and then moved it into Yang Chen's sea of consciousness very carefully. This little fire of all-beings karmic fire was too weak. Even if this number of demon beasts were killed at the same time, it was only a little bit, and it would be extinguished if one did not pay attention to it. It was no wonder that if a normal cultivator of this level was killed, the all-beings karmic fire would definitely burn. Unfortunately, although the number of demon beasts was large, they did not have active consciousness, which also led to the formation of all-beings karmic fire, but it was very weak. If he was not careful, he was afraid that it would be extinguished before it could move into Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. Even if it entered Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, it was not all right. Yang Chun had already passed the profound spirit furnace to emote Chunmei, and it was not by his side, so that there was no transfer medium. It was up to Yang Chun himself to absorb and refine the all-beings karmic fire, which was many times more difficult than before. That is, now Yang Chen's cultivation was much stronger than before. The spiritual awareness of the peak great principle golden immortal controlled the white fire seed given by big brother Li Cheng and began to absorb the all-beings karmic fire. Only absorbing a trace of all-beings karmic fire according to the third fire method, Yang Chun felt that thousands of demon beasts were wailing in his sea of consciousness. He could hear their voices and feel their pain, and his whole body was covered with cold sweat in an instant. Ayo! A long dragon roar came from the opposite sea of fire at this time. It was the voice of AO Senator. The sound was abnormally painful, but it also contained a kind of creepy madness. Not good. This guy was worthy of being a master of the dragon clan, plus he had killed a lot of fire dragons before. Relying on the dragon spirit of those fire dragons, he had survived in the burning of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire until now. Yang Chun had just absorbed the all-beings karmic fire, and there was a flaw. He found the opportunity and wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to attack. Fighting, Ao's son was not Yang Chen's opponent. If he didn't rely on many demon beasts to share his life, he would have been killed by Yang Chen several times. Now these demon beasts have been killed by Yang Chen's yin-yang heaven-burning fire, and the capital that Ao's son was proud of suddenly became zero. It was a miracle that he could survive until now under the burning of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. It was absolutely impossible to escape. Not to mention that A.O. Sin's proud character was not willing to escape in front of the younger generation of the Dragon Clan that he had never looked up to. Just the mountain river geographical map was connected to Gong Suanling's by him, which made him have no chance to escape. Since he couldn't escape and he couldn't fight, then A.O. Sin's crazy cry only meant one thing, and that was complete destruction. On A.O. Sin's body, there was still a complete collection of the Dragon Clan, as well as dozens of complete dragon pearls. If they exploded at the same time under A.O. Sin's control, it would absolutely be an unbearable and terrifying power. Not to mention anything else, just the explosion of the mountain river geographical map was enough to destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. What kind of concept would it be if 1/10 of the demon realm exploded? If it was placed in the spiritual realm, it could be said that at least a spiritual realm of the same size would be blown up into a barren land. If the power of the explosion was concentrated on the people in front of him, it was estimated that among the people present, perhaps only a few would be able to survive. In a flash, although Yang Chen's mind was restrained by the all-being's karmic fire, the beheading immortal saber in his hand flew out at this moment, directly flying into the opposite sea of fire. The second primordial spirit was not affected in the slightest. With just a thought from Yang Chen, the second primordial spirit acted like Yang Chen. Roar! Another world-shaking dragon roar came from the sea of fire. But this time, there was only pain and despair in the voice. There was no madness. Chapter 2474. Without the many crazy demonic beasts to share their lives with, Ao, Sun, who was on the verge of death from the yin-yang heaven incinerating fire, did not have the strength to resist. The immortal beheading saber effortlessly pierced Ao Sin's huge head. This was the true fatal wound. Unlike Yang Chen's main body liked to chop off his enemy's head. The second primordial spirit liked to stab its enemy's head. Although the effects were the same and both killed the enemy, there was still a big difference. Following Ao Sin's miserable scream before his death, Yang Chen's yin-yang heaven incinerating fire also began to rapidly shrink. Before everyone's eyes, the flames that burned the entire sky and ground began to rapidly shrink. In the blink of an eye, they returned to Yang Chen's body. The space on the other side immediately returned to a state where there were no flames. Although there were no flames within that space, there was basically nothing more than half the size of a fist that could still maintain its shape. The originally vast ocean's water level had dropped by more than half, and there was not a single living creature in the water. Countless wisps of steam rose into the air, forming an unending and thick dark cloud that covered the entire space. This situation only lasted for less than half an incense stick of time before it started raining crazily on the other side of the boundary. This downpour was much heavier than the heaviest rain seen in a mortal spiritual world. It was simply not rain, but water. Countless water droplets converged into a trickle. The trickle then turned into a gurgling river, and the gurgling river turned into a surging river before flowing towards the vast ocean. However, behind all this activity, there was a feeling of complete deathly stillness. That was because in this huge world, there was not a single living creature. There was not even the slightest aura of life. Everyone was so shocked by the scene before them that they even forgot to check on Ao Sin's life or death. Of course, the second primordial spirit had already sent an accurate message to Yang Chen. Ao Sin could not be any more dead. Yang Chen still stood where he was, carefully absorbing the karmic fire of all life. Every wisp of karmic fire made Yang Chen feel the wails of all living beings, but Yang Chen seemed to have a heart of stone and was indifferent to it. This was how the karmic fire worked. If Yang Chen had shown any mercy throughout the entire process, the karmic fire of all beings would definitely have burned Yang Chen to ashes. Those who couldn't bear this kind of karmic fire could only be devoured by it. Fortunately, Yang Chen had similar experiences when he absorbed and fused with the Red Lotus Hellfire in the past. Although the Hellfire of all beings was much stronger now, the basic experience was still useful. Finally, as the karmic fire of all beings was absorbed and integrated by Yang Chen's expression began to relax. All the women heaved a long sigh of relief when they saw that their husband's face had changed from being drenched in cold sweat to being incomparably calm. It seemed that her husband was fine. Thinking about it, it was really dangerous at the beginning. Ao's son actually wanted to take advantage of that opportunity to launch a sneak attack. If it weren't for the power of the second primordial spirit, perhaps they would have been widows by now. When the last wisp of karmic fire of all beings was absorbed, Yang Chen finally succeeded in absorbing this key karmic fire of all beings into the yin-yang heaven burning fire. However, the strange thing was that the karmic fire of all beings did not completely integrate into the yin-yang heaven burning fire. Instead, like the white fire seed given by Big Brother Li Cheng. It appeared on the top of the Lingxiao Palace in Yangchen's Sea of Consciousness. The karmic fire of all beings was black. It contained the resentment of countless monstrous beasts. Of course, it was this color. What was even more amazing was that the karmic fire of all beings and the white fire seed seemed to be attracted by yin and yang. They were tightly attached to each other, and the black and white colors slowly rotated, forming a natural taiji pattern. Seeing this scene, how could Yang Chun not understand that the karmic fire of all beings and the white fire seed given by Big Brother Li Cheng were on the same level of flames? Interesting, it seems that when I have time, I have to ask Big Brother Li Cheng, what is the name of the white fire seed? Since the karmic fire of all beings and the white fire seed were of the same level, the absorption method should be similar. After absorbing it with the third fire method, Yang Chun could also absorb it with the fourth fire. Yang Chen's judgment was correct. Big Brother Li Cheng did not mention this, but Yang Chun immediately began to absorb it again with the fourth fire method. The karmic fire of all beings did not disappoint Yang Chun. It immediately showed a different style of yin and yang, allowing Yang Chun to absorb and integrate it again. The process of absorption did not take a long time. After the absorption was completed, the yin-yang fire dragon still formed the pattern of two dragons playing with the pearl, just like the original absorption of the white fire seed. But this time the pearl was a black and white taiji ball. All the fire seeds began to automatically enter the taiji ball and were once again upgraded by the karmic fire of all beings. Everything was exactly the same as when he absorbed the white fire seed. All the fire seeds had been upgraded to a higher level from their current foundation. Only when all the fire seeds were upgraded would the entire process be considered complete. When Yang Chun opened his eyes, everyone who had been waiting for a long time relaxed. Everyone's faces were filled with smiles, and they started to talk more. Only now did Yang Chun discover that everyone had been waiting for him to finish and did not do anything else. No one even paid attention to Ao Sen's corpse. Very quickly, Xiao Chen's second primordial spirit controlled the immortal beheading saber and sent it over. Because Ao Sun died, all the magic treasures of the dragon race that he refined lost their owners and became ownerless items. Now, all of them were sent over. In the end, it was all for naught. Big sister Ao Lan looked at Ao Sen's corpse and could not help but sigh as she shook her head. The other dragon race experts also sighed. If Ao San was not so crazy, he would definitely be a great refiner of the dragon race. What a pity. Big sister, the magic treasures that Ao San refined should belong to the dragon race. You should keep them. Although Yang Chun helped big sister Ao Lan deal with Ao San, he did not think of stealing the magic treasures that Ao San refined. Everything was still up to the dragon race. Big sister Ao Lan was not surprised. Yang Chun would not take a fancy to these things. Even if he took a fancy to them, he would not snatch them from her. This was Yang Chen's principle. Ao Lan would not stand on ceremony with Yang Chun. The Mountain River geographical map still has a part of the space to refine the demon realm. You have almost burned it. You should give it to a Ling. Although Ao Lan accepted Yang Chen's kindness, she gave the Mountain River geographical map away. This magic treasure should be of the same origin as your life magic treasure. If you take it, you should be able to strengthen it. Without waiting for Gong Sun Ling to have any evasions, elder sister Ao Lan had already handed the 5-element hook that Ao Sun had refined to the Murong sisters. Don't evade. The things that elder sister sent have never been returned. Chapter 2475. Yang Chun was very straightforward, but big sister Ao Lan was even more straightforward. Xiao Chun did not even think about returning the dragon race's magic treasures that Ao Sun had meticulously refined. The other side immediately returned the favor by sending out suitable magic treasures. Gong Sun Ling and the Murong sisters were stunned. Then, they immediately turned their gazes to their husband. Yang Chun smiled and nodded at them. Only then did the women accept the magic treasures with smiles on their faces. You already have the dragon horns of water and fire. I will not give you any more. Aolan had several dozen dragon horns. However, Galyu only had the dual attributes of water and fire. Furthermore, she had already refined the flying sword for many years. Adding a few more dragon horns might not be of any benefit. Hence, Aolan did not give her anything similar. However, take these two and embed them on the flying sword. It will be better for the flying sword. As for Galyu, big sister Aolan handed her 2 dragon pearls, one for each fire and water. When the dragon pearls were in Ao Sen's hands, they did not seem very big. However, when placed in the human body of Aolan, the 2 dragon pearls that she took out were even taller than her. Fortunately, the dragon race could easily control the size of the dragon pearls. Aolan first refined the 2 dragon pearls into suitable sizes before handing them to Galyu. This was a huge gift. Back then, even though Yang Chun had obtained many magic treasures from the dragon race's treasure trove, the dragon pearls were placed separately and were specially protected. This could only mean one thing. The dragon pearls were of a higher level. Furthermore, the dragon pearl that big sister Aolan took out was several times larger than the one in the mortal world. After all, the dragon race dragon pearls obtained in the spiritual realm were much more powerful than those obtained in the mortal world. Galyu thanked Aolan before obediently receiving the dragon pearl. She knew that her husband had earned this for her. If she did not accept it, big sister Aolan and the others would feel very uncomfortable. As a blacksmith grandmaster, Aolan was also clear that with these 2 dragon pearls on her dragon horn of water and fire flying sword, its might would not just increase by several times. Yang Chun, it seems that your golden bell is not as useful as you think when you meet a strong enemy. After taking out the 3 dragon race treasures, Aolan turned her attention to Yang Chun. Merge this golden bell with the Tao and the demonic Tao. I believe that his defense will reach a whole new level. This was not false. Although Yang Chun used a huge amount of spiritual power to refine the golden bell and integrate it into his body, after all, it was a magic weapon of the mortal world. Even if it had experienced all kinds of heavenly tribulations along the way, it could not be compared with the real golden dragon. This golden bell could indeed bring great improvement to Yang Chun. Yang Chun did not stand on ceremony. He took the golden bell with a smile and put it away first. Now was still the time to divide the spoils. The matter of refining could be discussed later. Then, a scene that surprised Yang Chun happened. Elder sister Aolan took out the dragon pagoda and called out Xiao Tian, who had already recovered from his injuries. When Xiao Tian was hit by more than 10 dragon pearls, he had indeed suffered some injuries. However, under the effect of Yang Chen's 8 revolutions merit pill, he quickly recovered. However, when he recovered, it happened to be the time when Yang Chun used the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. Thus, he did not come out to help. When he came out and saw the dragon pagoda, Xiao Tian almost drooled. Little fellow, your dragon pagoda contains many dragon race inheritances. Those are the dragon race's righteous Tao inheritances. Aolan chuckled at Xiao Tian and said, "Take this. This dragon pagoda contains all the dragon race inheritances that Ao's son possesses. It might not be the same as the orthodox dragon race inheritances. For us, it is not very useful for the time being. It is better for you to keep it." Xiao Tian looked at Ao Sin's exquisite dragon pagoda and started drooling. At this moment, Aolan wanted to give the dragon pagoda to him. Xiao Tian immediately took it without thinking and entered it. Don't casually cultivate the things inside. Yang Chun was startled and hurriedly warned Xiao Tian. This was Ao Sin's abnormal cultivation method. It might not be suitable for Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian should not cultivate Xiao Tian into another Ao senator after warning Xiao Tian. Yang Chun turned to big sister Aolan and smiled bitterly. "Big sister, this is too precious." Everything else was fine. Only experts would have to spend a lot of time to refine them. At most, the materials would be harder to obtain. However, the dragon pagoda was different. That was a secret treasure that contained the dragon race's inheritance. How could it be given away so easily? These things are not very useful to us for the time being. Big sister Aolan smiled faintly and waved her hand. If we keep it in our hands, there might be many disputes that should not happen. Since the little fellow already has that dragon pagoda, what is the harm in taking one more? But Yang Chun still wanted to reject it. After all, it was too precious. Big Sister Ao Lan stopped Yang Chun again. This is also a backup plan for our dragon race, Big Sister Ao Lan said very formally and seriously. Big Sister Ao Lan spoke very formally and seriously. At the very least, leaving it here with you will give us more peace of mind than keeping it somewhere else. If we can defeat Ao's son, we will do the same. Clearly, Big Sister Ao Lan had thought this through. It was very likely that she had already considered these problems when she made the agreement with Long Can and Long Quebec. Since Big Sister Ao Lan said this, Yang Chun had no reason to reject her. This was a heavy trust. Yang Chun could not use rejection to trample on this trust. Seeing Yang Chun put away Xiao Tian, Big Sister Ao Lan revealed a satisfied smile. After thinking for a while, she said, "You already have a portion of the other things. I will not give them to you. However, you can do whatever you want with Ao Sen's corpse." Of the 8 dragon race treasures, Big Sister Ao Lan took out the Dragon Pagoda, the Golden Bell, the Mountain River geographical map, and the 5-element rope hook, and gave them to Yang Chun and the related people. Big Sister Ao Lan only had the profound Heaven Dark Sea Shuttle, the sea-pouring Jasper Cup, an unknown number of dragon horns, the glass bottles for brewing wine, and an unknown number of dragon pearls. Some things were passed down by the dragon race and had to be taken back. For example, the dragon pearls. This time, Big Sister Ao Lan gave Gao Yu 2 dragon pearls. This was already a rare, generous gesture. To the dragon race, Yang Chun had gotten rid of the great traitor Ao's son and removed the threat of the dragon race. This was a huge favor. After leaving behind these things, it was another favor from the Lord. Basically, it could be said that the dragon race in the spiritual realm would not have a chance to repay these favors. It seemed like they could only wait for everyone to ascend to the immortal world before slowly returning the favor. Big Sister, is it that once Ao Sen's matter is over, you can all ascend? Yang Chun seemed to have seen some clues and directly asked Big Sister Ao Lan. That's right. At this point, Ao Lan would no longer hide anything. The reason why we are staying in the spiritual realm is to continue the dragon race's inheritance. On the other hand, we want to wait for the results of Ao Sen's breakthrough. If he thought it through, then everything will be fine and everyone will ascend together. If he relied on external force to break through, then we will have to carry out the dragon race's punishment. Chapter 2476. As Ao Lan's elder sister continued to explain, Yang Chun completely understood. The dragon race, like Patriarch Lu, Lin Jingyuan, and Zhou Xianying's father, had already discovered the abnormalities in the immortal world many years in advance, so they had made arrangements in advance. However, what they did was to place a portion of the outstanding descendants of the dragon clan in the spiritual realm so that they could watch over the traitors while hiding in a safe place. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was true that Ao's son was a traitor, but his cultivation method and refining methods were considered demonic to the dragon race. However, the dragon race of the immortal plane did not dare to be completely certain that their method was correct. After all, it was normal for cultivators to split into the Tao and Demon Tao. It was not easy for the dragon race to produce a member of the Demon Tao. Thus, the ancestor of the dragon race spared Ao Sen's life, only imprisoning him. Once the immortal world proved that the orthodox method of the dragon race's ancestor would not work, then Ao Sen's demonic Tao would only be a way out for the dragon race. Fortunately, up until now, the dragon race's path had been quite smooth. For the time being, it was not dangerous to the point where they had to use Ao Sen's path. Furthermore, Ao's son had also used Yang Chen's strength to break out of closed-door cultivation. This fulfilled the conditions for Ao Lan and the others to carry out the clan rules. Unfortunately, even if Ao Lan and the others worked together, they would not be a match for him. They could only rely on Yang Chen's strength. Right now, the dragon race's arrangements in the astral realm could be said to be complete. Aolan and the others no longer needed to remain in the astral realm, wasting their time. They could ascend at any time. However, be it Big Sister Aolan, Long Kwong, Aolai, or the Long Clan experts, they would definitely not disregard everything and ascend. Everyone present had already guessed that they would definitely wait for Yang Chen's family to ascend together. Indeed, this was what Big Sister Aolan said next. Everyone would ascend together. However, before they ascended, Aolan and the others still needed to return to their lair and deal with the things that they needed to take away and clean up. In other words, they needed to leave again for the time being. Of course, Long Can and Long K still had a 100-year promise. Even though Long Can and Long K wouldn't be able to do much in the current situation, since it was an agreement, Yang Chun would still take it seriously. Let's see if the two of them will still be so stubborn when the time comes. Elder Sister Aolan led the group of dragon race experts and left in a happy mood. The ones left behind were Yang Chen's family and friends. When their friend from the dragon race were around, they could not deal with the things of the dragon race. This was especially so for Ao Sen's corpse. Now that their friends from a dragon race had left, they no longer had to worry about it. Take whatever you like, madam. In front of Madame Bai, Yang Chun still acted like a filial junior. As long as Madame Bai liked it, Yang Chun would definitely give it to her unconditionally. Madame Bai was of the wood-attributed fiend race. Ao-san was of the wood-attributed in the first place. Their attributes were compatible. There should be something that Madame Bai would take a liking to. Madame Bai did not stand on ceremony. She stepped forward and plucked off Ao-san's 2 dragon horns. Then, she returned to the Wood Dragon Palace with a smile on her face to continue cultivating. Yang Chen's gaze turned to Big Brother Li Cheng's side. He had the same intention. Take whatever you like first. However, Li Cheng was different from Madame Bai. He shook his head. Yang Chun was very clear about Big Brother Li Cheng's intention. He reckoned that Ao-san did not have anything that Big Brother Li Cheng would take a liking to. Without waiting for Yang Chun to be polite, Lin Jingyuan waved his hand. He did not put in much effort, so he could not just casually take Yang Chen's spoils of war. Being able to watch the battle from the side had already benefited him a lot. The rest were the spoils of Yang Chun and the women. Not to mention anything else, whether it was the golden bell, the dragon bead, or the 5 elements hook. Although Ao-san was already dead and there was no longer his aura, he still took them out first to let Xiao Tian swallow all the aura, and then refine them separately. Gong Sun Ling immediately began to refine the Mountain River geographical map. Ao-sen's Mountain River geographical map had been burned by Yang Chen's Yin-Yang Heaven-burning fire. In addition to Ao-sen's death, there was no difficulty in refining it. It was even easier than refining an ordinary demon realm map. Next was Ao-sen's body. Before, Yang Chun had removed a lot of parts from Ao-sen's body, and even the pieces of flesh and blood left by the second Ao-sen self-destruction were collected. Altogether, Yang Chun had almost 3 dragon parts of Ao-sen's body. Ao-sen himself was what attributed, but this guy had killed who knows how many experts of the same race. No one knew what method he used to turn himself into a full attribute, similar to Yang Chun. It was just that the wood attribute had a clear upper hand, so outsiders would think that he was wood attributed. This time, basically the things that the women needed could be found from Ao-sen's body. Whether it was strengthening magic weapons or refining other things, Ao-sen's body could meet all the needs. Gao Yu had the highest level of refining. Naturally, no matter what the women wanted to do, they would definitely ask Gao Yu for advice. Gao Yu also patiently guided the women. The family was very happy and harmonious. At this point, it could be said that Yang Chen's main purpose in staying in the spiritual realm had been completed. What was left was nothing more than the agreement with Long Can and Long K, as well as refining the rest of the demon realm. Of course, the core of the demon realm also needed to be refined. This would completely cut off the channel for the 3 realms to pour the demon chi into the demon realm. Finally, it was the development of the Chunyang Palace. While the others were busy, Yang Chun went to find Big Brother Li Cheng alone. His goal was very simple. He wanted to ask Big Brother Li Cheng what the white fire seed was, as well as the all-life karmic fire. Guess what it is? Li Qing took a sip of wine and did not answer. Instead, he asked with a smile, "The Tao ancestors' Qianquan 8 trigrams furnace?" Yang Chen replied without hesitation. Since Li Cheng was related to the Tao ancestor, then the fire seed would definitely be related. However, after saying that, he felt that it was not possible, so he retorted, "It's just that I've always heard that the Tao ancestors' Qianquan 8 trigrams furnace is pure 3 true fire, so..." The implication was that Yang Chen was not sure himself. "Don't you have 3 true fire?" Big brotherly Chung rolled his eyes at Yang Chen. "Why did you say that when you knew? What kind of fire seed is that?" Yang Chen asked again. The white fire seed almost surpassed all the fire seeds. It could improve all the fire seeds, so it was definitely not an ordinary fire seed. Moreover, whether it was the white fire seed or the all-life karmic fire, they all had the attributes of the third and fourth fire. It was more magical that it could not be distinguished whether it was the third or fourth fire. That is the fire seed of the same level as the all-life karmic fire. Big brotherly Chung finally stopped hiding. After taking a sip of wine, he began to say the answer that Yang Chen had always wanted to know. Cultivators often say that the furnace of heaven and earth is the furnace of heaven and earth. The white fire seed is actually the furnace of heaven and earth. Chapter 2477. Big brotherly Cheng's words made Yang Chen fall into a daze. Heaven and earth furnace? What was that? Even though all the cultivators said that heaven and earth furnace was just a general concept. How could it be a real furnace? Without a furnace, where would the flames come from? The problem was that Yang Chen had really obtained the white furnace fire of heaven and earth. This couldn't be faked. Besides, Big brotherly Chung would never lie about this. If he said it was the furnace fire of heaven and earth, then it must be the furnace fire of heaven and earth. What's so hard to understand? Big brotherly Chung looked at Yang Chen and knew that he was being stubborn. He said casually, "You even firmly believe that there is a demon realm and demon realm outside of the 3 realms. Could a mere furnace fire of heaven and earth scare you?" Yang Chen came back to his senses and shook his head slightly, as if he wanted to shake out all the messy things in his mind. Big brotherly Chung was right. After experiencing so many unimaginable things, how could he not understand this? But you're right about one thing. Big brotherly Chung began to affirm Yang Chen. This fire seed was indeed obtained from the Qianquan 8 trigrams furnace. However, it wasn't the commonly used furnace fire. Instead, it was condensed from a strand of fire energy absorbed by the Qianquan 8 trigrams furnace over the years. It's extremely precious. The Qianquan 8 trigrams furnace was a pill furnace specially used by Tao ancestors, who knew how many 9 transformations golden pills it had refined in the immortal realm. After so many years, it absorbed strands of fire energy from the world and condensed it into a fire seed. It was not easy. Yang Chen could even imagine the difficulty. The karmic fire of all beings needed to be obtained by killing so many living beings at once. Moreover, most of the demon beasts in the demon realm were killed and only produced a strand of it. If it wasn't for Yang Chen's careful care, it might not have been able to grow. The furnace fire of heaven and earth sounded like a high-grade fire seed. Wouldn't it be even more difficult? That's not entirely true. It's just that it will take a long time. As if he had already guessed Yang Chen's thoughts, Big brotherly Chung directly gave the answer. It's different from the karmic fire of all beings, but the difficulty is similar. Extracting that trace of fire chi over a long period of time is not something any alchemy furnace can do. The karmic fire of all beings can be said to be the fire of life, while the furnace fire of heaven and earth is a fire seed that is completely unaffected by living beings. Big brotherly Cheng's explanation could be said to be simple and clear. It was also very easy for people to understand. Does this make it easier for you to understand? Yang Chen nodded. He finally understood. One was a vital flame, while the other was a non-vital flame. No wonder it could form a Tai Chi ball within Yang Chen's sea of wisdom. They were of the same grade, and they were all relative origin flame seeds. They were indeed extraordinary. It was understandable why these 2 kinds of fire seeds could be used as the 4th fire, and, at the same time, they could improve the grade of other fire seeds. No wonder Big Brotherly Chung said that without these two kinds of fire seeds, the Yin-Yang heaven-burning fire was incomplete, and it was not a lie. It was impossible to describe Yang Chen's current mood. Yang Chen's excitement could not be described with excitement. Compared with the Yin-Yang heaven-burning fire, Ao Sin's magic weapon and the treasures of the dragon race were not on the same level at all. The women were also very happy now. Everyone put their things in the dragon palace, and then Gao Yu took the lead. One by one, they discussed how everyone could use the things they got from Ao Sun to improve their own life source magic weapons. After Gao Yu's professional guidance, everyone gained a lot, and the items on Ao Sin's body were also rapidly decreasing. Yang Chen finally accepted the fact that he had the karmic fire of all beings and the furnace fire of heaven and earth. After calming down, he also joined the feast. However, when he was with the women, Yang Chen remembered that there was still something he forgot to take out. Ao Sin's boundless sword Qi against Yang Chen was taken by Yang Chen with the scabbard left by Ancestor Lu, and he had not taken it out yet. This was a gift that Yang Chen had reserved for Shi Shanshan. It was not too late to take it out at this time. Shi Shanshan, this person, was usually cold to the outside world. Only in front of her husband, Yang Chen, would there be a heartfelt smile. There were many things that Shi Shanshan disdained to fight for, so Yang Chen had to take the initiative to think about it. Otherwise, she would even be calculated by some people in the sect. This kind of thing happened in the mortal world, and Yang Chen came forward to seek justice for Shi Shanshan. Thank you, husband. Shi Shanshan originally cultivated ancestor Lu's supreme, pure Yang sword Qi. When she received the dragon race's boundless sword Qi from her husband, she did not hide the smile on her face. She even took the initiative to give Yang Chen a kiss. This was a gift that her husband had said in front of many people, so Shi Shanshan would not be polite at all. Ancestor Lu's supreme, pure Yang sword Qi was quite overbearing. It was very suitable for Shi Shanshan's courageous character, but it was slightly inappropriate for her cultivation. This also caused Shi Shanshan to often only have the strength for one attack, which was very unsafe. The boundless sword Qi could completely make up for this flaw. In terms of the 5 elements, the boundless sword Qi was also refined from a dozen golden dragons. It also belonged to the metal attribute, which was just right for Shi Shanshan. The boundless sword Qi was meticulously refined by the dragon race. Its name was derived from the word boundless, which meant that it had boundless might. In the spiritual realm, the boundless sword Qi was almost invincible. However, when the powerful and tyrannical boundless sword Qi encountered the supreme, pure Yang sword Qi, it immediately became like an obedient kitten and was easily absorbed by Shi Shanshan. Of course, one sword Qi was not enough for Shi Shanshan to do anything immediately. It needed to be nurtured slowly and strengthened slowly. It required Shi Shanshan to persevere in her daily cultivation. With the boundless sword Qi, at least when Shi Shanshan dealt with some unimportant enemies, she didn't have to use the supreme pure Yang sword Qi that could only kill in one blow, but only had the power of one blow. That's right, leave one of Ao Sin's claws for me. Seeing the girls happily splitting the loot, Yang Chen suddenly thought of something and shouted at the girls. It was naturally not a problem for Yang Chen to leave one of his claws. It was just that the girls felt strange. Why did Yang Chen want a claw? It seemed that the magic treasure of their husband did not need such a low-level material. Of course, this was only in the hearts of the girls. If the cultivators of the spiritual realm knew that the body of a peak, golden, immortal dragon race expert was only a low-level material in their eyes, it was unknown what kind of uproar it would cause. We have to give an explanation to the spiritual realm. Yang Chen gave a simple explanation and then said, "Take this dragon claw out for auction and tell them that we have solved the big problem of the demon realm." I believe they should believe it when they see this dragon claw. Chapter 2478. Yang Chen was thinking long-term. Because of the geographical map of mountains and rivers, basically all the sect in the spiritual world loved and feared Yang Chen and Gong Sunling. On the one hand, Yang Chun was on the side of all the major sect. Whether it was Yang Chun himself or Chunyang Palace, they had a good relationship with all the sect. Because Chunyang Palace was a sect that rose in the later period, although it was also a Taoist sect, it did not have a grudge with those demon sects for many years. On this point, all parties were willing to be on good terms with them. On the other hand, Gong Sunling had mastered the geographical map of mountains and rivers, a great weapon that could refine the spiritual world. Basically, she had become a thorn in the eyes of all the sect. It could be said that when they slept, they did not dare to sleep soundly. They only dared to keep one eye open and be on guard. This did not include Yang Chen's dragon friends. The masters of the entire dragon clan were enough to fight against any super sect. It was a naked crushing in strength, the kind that would not be polite. In this case, how could the major sect rest assured? Now that Yang Chen's family was here on the one hand to solve the problem of Dragon Can, Dragon K, and Ao's son, on the other hand to avoid the limelight. However, no matter how much they delayed it, it would only push the fear of all parties to the back. At present, they could still use the excuse of fighting against the traitor of the Dragon Clan to get along peacefully. After real peace, there would probably be other troubles. Therefore, Yang Chun had to take precautions to solve this hidden danger. This was the reality of the world. When one did not have the strength, he would become a weak person who was bullied by others. However, when one was strong enough to control a part of the world, he would become the target of fear of all parties. Auctioning a dragon claw was to tell the major sect that the traitor of the Dragon Clan had been solved. The fresh dragon claw was the evidence. Otherwise, the various sects might not believe it, even if it was just an empty promise. Even if they did not say they did not believe it, they would still have a grudge in their hearts. It was better to come up with solid evidence to make all parties believe it. Also, Yang Chun had to start preparing for his family's ascension. He also wanted to make it clear to the sect so that they could put their hearts at ease. Even if Yang Chun and Gong Sunling were powerful in the spiritual world, but when they arrived in the immortal world, they were still fresh and incomparable rookies. They didn't know how many masters could easily pinch two people to death with a finger. Therefore, as long as they ascended, the threat of having something stuck in their throats would disappear. However, before he ascended, Yang Chun couldn't just leave after making contributions to the spiritual realm in obscurity. He couldn't be short of the benefits he deserved. This was his principle. Even if they fought against the Zhao family and the traitors of the Dragon Tribe, they could not owe Yang Chun and Chunyang Palace what they deserved. Yang Chun left what should be left for his wives and concubines. He left the geographical map of Mountain River with a complete dragon claw and returned to Chunyang Palace. Less than a month after Yang Chun returned to Chunyang Palace, a piece of news that shocked the whole spiritual realm was sent from Wanbao Tower and spread to all parts of the spiritual realm. Wanbao Tower would auction a complete dragon claw at the auction a year later. It was of the wood attribute, and the cultivation was at the peak of golden immortal. As soon as the news came out, the world was in an uproar, and the whole spiritual realm was almost boiling. Countless cultivators who got the news began to flock to the headquarters of Wanbao Tower, raising money everywhere and preparing to participate in the bidding. That was the wood attribute dragon claw of the peak of golden immortal. Many would attribute cultivators dreamed of it, but could not get it. The high-level officials of all parties who knew about it immediately understood that this was a clear signal from Yang Chun to all parties. They had killed the traitor of the Dragon Tribe. From the time, the cultivation, and the 5 elements of the other party, they all matched. The Wood Dragon Palace was the one who plotted against the high-level officials of all parties, so it was completely consistent. Hearing this news, the high-level officials of all parties secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although the Zhao family had been destroyed in these years, and they could temporarily rest for a while, the traitor of the Dragon Tribe and the spatial magic treasure of the Dragon Tribe had not been solved. All parties were still sleeping on a time bomb, and it was not stable. Now, they could sleep in peace. Even if all parties were afraid of Yang Chun and Gong Sunling, they were just afraid. Yang Chun had a good reputation since the beginning of the mortal world. No matter what, it was much better than the traitor of the Dragon Tribe and the Zhao family. There were many people who were willing to believe in Yangchun. As for Gong Sunling, as long as Yangchun was dealt with, Gong Sunling would definitely follow Yangchun. The experts who did not know about it were thinking about how to raise money to buy a complete dragon claw, but the experts who knew about it were envious of Yangchun. What did it mean that Yangchun could take out a complete dragon claw for auction? It meant that Yangchun had killed the traitor of the dragon tribe and had the corpse of the peak of golden immortal of the dragon tribe. This was a good thing that made people drool. What was a dragon claw? But knowing that Yangchun had the corpse of the entire dragon tribe, all parties did not dare to think about it easily. The current Yangchun and Chunyang Palace were not the previous Yangchun and Chunyang Palace. They were not soft persimmons that all parties could knead at will. Now, everyone was only thinking about how to persuade Yangchun and his family to ascend. Otherwise, all parties would not be able to sleep and eat in peace. But soon, the high-level officials of all parties did not need to envy Yangchun anymore. What Yangchun brought back to Chunyang Palace was not only a complete dragon claw, but also a lot of the flesh and blood of the second Ao-san when he self-exploded. These things were of little value to Yangchun and his family, and they could not really eat them as meat. Therefore, a part of the Chunyang Palace was taken back as some treasures of the sect's secret pavilion, as a reward for the disciples who contributed. Yangchun and others did not like it, but did not mean that the ordinary disciples of Chunyang Palace did not like it. No matter whose magic treasure, as long as it was mixed with some dragon flesh and blood, it would be greatly improved. It should be known that this was the flesh and blood of the peak of golden immortal of the dragon tribe, and this was a great benefit that could be exchanged with the sect's contribution. After the disciples of Chunyang Palace learned about it, they almost cheered loudly. Naturally, the news inevitably spread, and a lot of people knew about it. After hearing that there was a lot of fine flesh and blood, the experts of all parties thought about it and understood that this must be the result of the dragon trader's self-explosion in the end. Yangchun was lucky. There was still a complete dragon claw, and the rest were probably only fine flesh and blood. In this way, the parties were obviously much more balanced. Although Chunyang Palace had gained a lot of benefits, it was limited after all, and it was obvious that if the parties were willing, they could still exchange other benefits. In terms of sharing the benefits, Chunyang Palace was many times better than Xiantian Gate in the past. Countless potential buyers began to prepare with red eyes, and the sect also began to send high-level officials with status to Chunyang Palace. On the one hand, they negotiated with Chunyang Palace, and, on the other hand, they asked to see Yangchun and discuss the future development with Yangchun. Of course, it was best to finalize an agreement with Yangchun, so that Yangchun could ascend in time with his family. Chapter 2479. In the eyes of Yangchun's family and friends, Ao's son was indeed dead. He was dead and could not be any more dead. However, in the hands of a celestial immortal elder of Chunyang Palace, the dragon claw that belonged to Ao's son still seemed to be full of vitality. If the elder was not paying attention, he would grab it crazily, creating a storm that contained the aura of a golden immortal. The flesh and blood of Ao's son, which had become minced meat after he self-destructed, were all wriggling slightly, as if they were unwilling to die like this. The exuberant vitality that seemed to surpass life and death stunned all the cultivators who saw it for the first time. This was the situation that the representatives of the major sect were facing. The dragon claw had to be shown to them so that they could verify its authenticity. The same was true for Ao-sen's flesh and blood. This was the only way to make the major sect believe that the traitor of the dragon tribe was really dead. Of course, this traitor was not the traitor. Fortunately, everyone knew that it was a traitor of the dragon tribe, and a peak golden immortal would attribute dragon tribe expert. Yangchun and his family were all golden immortal experts. Ao-sen's corpse was firmly suppressed by their cultivation, so it was impossible for it to move. Therefore, when it was in their hands, Ao-sen's claws and flesh and blood were all dead meat. However, ordinary cultivators, even if they were celestial immortals, could not suppress the corpse of a peak golden immortal Ao senator, even though it was dead. The pieces of the corpse still maintained the pride of the dragon tribe, as if they did not want to be controlled by low-level cultivators. This was only a celestial immortal cultivator. If it was an earthly immortal or a human immortal cultivator, they would probably be shocked by the strength of the dragon's struggle and the aura of a peak golden immortal. If it was serious, their lives might be in danger. Only such a performance was worthy of being a part of a peak golden immortal dragon tribe's body. No one doubted the authenticity of the dragon claw and the flesh and blood. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief after these things were once again placed into the box filled with various talismans and kept well. Just the remnant aura of a peak gold immortal lingering on the dragon claws and flesh was enough to cause some of the weaker cultivators from the various sects to nearly break down. It was truly unimaginable how Yangchen's family had to deal with AO's senator, however. Many of the representatives were unmoved. At the very least, the golden immortals from the lower realms were unmoved. They were genuine golden immortals who had gone through heavenly tribulations, not fake golden immortals like AO's senator, although they would have been killed if they had faced Aosin head-on. It didn't happen, did it? At least for now, they could still maintain their dignity as golden immortal seniors. With so many gold immortal seniors here, the first thing they want to talk about was naturally related to all the gold immortals of the lower realms. The Zhao family had been annihilated, and the traitors of the Dragon Clan had been beheaded. Therefore, the golden immortals of the lower realm had completed their mission. Of course, it was great to stay in the spiritual realm and be masters, but the situation forced them to return to the immortal realm. They had to leave even if they didn't want to. Not only did they have to leave because they had completed their mission, but the ancestors of the sect who served them also complained incessantly. These ancestors had high cultivation bases and seniority, so they couldn't be ordered to do anything. They even had to serve them with good food and drinks. They didn't dare to say a word wrong, and they didn't dare to do a wrong thing. It was really hard work. On the other hand, the sect whose golden immortal ancestors had died had it much better. However, without a golden immortal ancestor, they didn't have a strong backbone in many matters. Therefore, in order to be fair in certain matters, the follow-up matters after the Zhao family's annihilation had been delayed by those sect with the reason that the traitors of the Dragon Clan had not been dealt with yet. They wanted to wait until there were no golden immortal ancestors to talk about it. These sect included the Ghostine sect, the Ghost sect, and the other 5 sects. Thanks to Yangchun, the golden immortal ancestors of the 6 sects had been imprisoned by Yangchun. This allowed their later days to be pretty good, unlike those sects that had golden immortal ancestors to serve. At the same time, because their golden immortal ancestors were still around, they still had the right to speak. This also made the 6 sects the most comfortable sect among the other sects. Some things were really good fortune and bad fortune. It had to be said that no one could accurately grasp the pulse of fate. No one knew when something was good or bad. At that time, the Ghostine sect and the Ghost sect felt that the sky was falling. Instead, they felt that it was the best fortune. In short, no matter what, the golden immortal ancestors had to ascend. Originally, there was a reason that the golden immortal traitors of the Dragon Clan had not been eliminated, so they still needed the golden immortal ancestors to hold down the fort. However, now that Yangchun had brought out Ao Sin's corpse, the golden immortal ancestors had no reason to stay. This time, the golden immortal ancestors appeared. One reason was to confirm that the traitors of the Dragon Clan were really executed. If they could confirm it, then these golden immortal ancestors would talk to Yangchun about the matter of ascension. Not only them, but also the golden immortal ancestors of the 6 sects, including the Ghostine sect. The Ghostine sect and the other sects could not be left alive. Their intention was for Yangchun to release the 6 golden immortals he had imprisoned and let them ascend together. Yangchun did not have much of an opinion. He knew that these people would do this, so he released them without hesitation. The 6 golden immortal experts were suddenly free. Then they saw their familiar companions. At the same time, they felt relaxed, but they could not help but look at Yangchun. During these years in the Mountain River geographical map, the 6 golden immortal experts had been tormented. Not only were they used for all kinds of battles, but sometimes Yangchun's wives and concubines even used them as practice targets. These female soldiers were not kind people. They still wanted to vent their anger, for their husband. Every time, they would be tortured to death. Thinking about it, even Long Quang could not get any advantage in the hands of these female soldiers. They were simply sending themselves to death in a one-on-one fight. After hundreds of years, the 6 golden immortal experts had long been taught a lesson and became obedient babies. They would obediently do whatever Yang Chen's family told them to do, without any temper at all. Even now, when they saw their companions and knew that they were free, they did not forget to look at Yang Chen first to confirm with him. If Yang Chen did not nod his head, the 6 golden immortal experts probably would not even have the courage to escape. Only when they saw the exact nod from Yang Chen did the 6 golden immortal experts obediently walk to their companion's side. They still did not dare to have the slightest arrogant action. They were extremely docile. This kind of behavior made the representatives of the various sects secretly think in their hearts. Even a blind person could see that the 6 golden immortal experts were really afraid. What a terrifying thing. 6 golden immortal experts were so submissive to a junior. This made them have no choice but to restrain themselves when facing Yang Chen. Chapter 2480. Why were the 4 sects of Tao strong in the later stage? Wasn't it because they had the support of the golden immortal masters? But looking at the situation now, the 6 golden immortal masters did not dare to be presumptuous in front of Yang Chen. After the golden immortal masters ascended, would they dare to be presumptuous in front of Yang Chen? But no matter what, Yang Chen had given face by releasing the 6 golden immortal masters, which showed that Yang Chen was still very easy to negotiate. As long as there were sufficient reasons and enough benefits, Yang Chen would not do anything to fight against the entire spiritual realm. Everyone knew this. There were many things to do, and it was impossible to talk about them all in one day. When the representatives of all parties gathered in the Chunyang Palace to discuss with the golden immortal masters when to ascend, they inevitably talked about the experience of the 6 imprisoned golden immortal masters. This was a very embarrassing thing. So which of the juniors of each sect dared to mention it? It was someone who was also a golden immortal who asked, as if he was curious about why they were so afraid of Yang Chen. If it was just a simple question, the 6 golden immortals would probably care about the face of the golden immortal masters and would not say more or less. But there was a golden immortal who was used to being rude and unreasonable, and even used the tone of his own sect to order and question, which immediately caused a conflict. The golden immortal who spoke was one of the 7 golden immortals who were tempted back then, but he was lucky enough to be neutralized by Elder Yao of Xuanwu Academy, so he did not participate in the fight at that time. Fortunately, he did not participate in the fight, so he was not imprisoned by Yang Chen, so he had the opportunity to enjoy the life of bossing people around in the sect for hundreds of years. This guy's tone and tone were so annoying that the 6 imprisoned golden immortals immediately turned hostile. This guy was originally a traitor in their small group. It was fine that he did not go through hardships with them, but now he dared to talk to them in such a tone, which immediately made the 6 golden immortals angry. In front of Yang Chen, the golden immortal expert of the Ghost Yin sect was like a frightened quail. He did not dare to move at all and only knew how to tremble. But in front of others, he was still the elite that was carefully selected by the immortal world Ghost Yin sect. Whenever there was a disagreement, he would immediately attack without the slightest hesitation. This was also a habit he had developed in the geographical map of mountains and rivers, fighting against the demon beasts, the golden immortal of the Zhao family and Yang Chen's family. As soon as they got angry, the experts of the Ghost Yin sect immediately took action. To tell the truth, the golden immortals outside were facing opponents that Gong Sunling had deliberately arranged for them to be on par with each other. Moreover, they did not fight for long in the later stages of the battle. The 6 imprisoned gold immortals, on the other hand, had never stopped fighting. Their bodies had developed combat instincts. In the geographical map of mountains and rivers, the frequent battles gave the 6 imprisoned golden immortals almost no time to catch their breath, not to mention that they had to fight against super experts like Yang Chen's family in the later stages. Their own tempering, the conscious support of the spiritual veins provided by the geographical map of mountains and rivers, plus the experience of fighting against the strongest opponents, made them improve even faster in the past hundreds of years than in the immortal world. There was not much improvement in the realm, but the improvement of the 6 golden immortals' combat experience and awareness was not just a little bit. It was no exaggeration to say that they were more than twice as strong as they were in the immortal world. As soon as the two sides started fighting, the difference was immediately seen. It only took the golden immortal expert of the Ghost Een sect 3 times to put his natal flying sword on the neck of the guy who spoke rudely. Looking at the sword edge close at hand and feeling the cold chill on it, the arrogant golden immortal expert almost knelt down in fear. Finally, in such a cruel battle, all the arrogance of the 6 golden immortal experts had been forcibly beaten away. They were extremely calm, so the sword did not really pierce through. But even so, all the cultivators present were shocked. Previously, all the cultivators thought that the 6 golden immortal experts were too careless at that time and underestimated Yang Chen, which was why they were subdued by Yang Chen's fists. At that time, there were more than 1 or 2 gloating. Even now, most of the cultivators who knew the truth had always thought that they were unlucky and careless. Many sects even used this to teach their disciples a lesson, so that they should never underestimate anyone. But this statement itself made a mistake that they had been emphasizing, which was to underestimate the 6 golden immortal experts. Seeing that the experts who came to the immortal world almost at the same time had now taken control of their opponent's vital points in just 3 times, all the cultivators were shocked and began to reevaluate the strength of these 6 golden immortal experts. If these 6 experts were so powerful, then they would have to treat Ghost Een sect and Go Soul sect with a more friendly attitude in the future. At least before these golden immortal experts ascended, they would have to maintain this attitude. But there was another problem. The scene of these 6 powerful golden immortal experts being submissive in front of Yang Chen made all the cultivators have to reevaluate Yang Chen's combat strength. It seemed that at this time, all the cultivators began to take seriously the strength of a cultivator who killed a peak golden immortal dragon expert. They had to admit that this was a joke. Everyone thought that Yang Chen was lucky and Gong Sunling had such an opportunity because of her powerful magic treasure. But looking at the situation now, it didn't seem to be the case. Immediately, a golden immortal expert began to act as a peacemaker. After persuading both sides, only then did he seriously ask for advice. Thus, all the cultivators truly understood how terrifying Yang Chen's family was. What kind of terrifying concept was it to be able to beat these 6 experts to the point that they couldn't even fight back? Almost all the representatives of the sect fell into shock again. Only the representatives of the 4 sects and Yin Yang Demon School were getting more and more happy. The more powerful Yang Chen's family was, the more powerful the disciples of their sect were. Was this not a good thing? The golden immortal grandmasters would definitely ascend at the same time, and it wouldn't be long. Then, among the cultivators who stayed in the spiritual realm, Yang Chen's family would divide the 5 sects of the Dao sect and Yin Yang Demon School. Now, the Dao sect super sect was no longer 4, but 5 again. The 5th one was, of course, Chunyang Palace. Do you really think that we were defeated by Yang Chen when it was 6 against 1 because we were careless? The golden immortal expert of the Ghost Een sect said the common thought of his 6 companions at this moment. That's because you haven't seen how shocking it was when Yang Chen taught those experts of the Dragon Clan a lesson alone. Any one of those golden immortal experts of the Dragon Clan could beat the 6 of us to the ground. All the cultivators who heard this fell into a state of sluggishness and incomprehension. There is only one sentence in all the cultivators' hearts. How is this possible? Chapter 2481. The facts were there, and nothing was impossible. If it was in the past, some people might think that these 6 golden immortals were obviously exaggerating Yang Chen's combat power to cover up the fact that they had lost face. But now, one of them casually came out and subdued another golden immortal expert from the mortal realm in just a few moves, which meant something else. Especially the corpse of a golden immortal peak expert from the Dragon Clan who had self-destructed, it could not be faked. Since Yang Chen could take it out, it meant that he must have experienced a fierce battle. In any case, at least in terms of combat power, He could be on par with a golden immortal peak expert from the Dragon Clan, which undoubtedly affirmed Yang Chen's combat power. The golden immortal grandmasters were definitely going to ascend. There was no doubt about that. Whether they succeeded or failed in the spirit realm, whether they enjoyed it or suffered it, they were going to ascend eventually. The cultivators in the spiritual realm still had to continue to cultivate and live, so it was necessary to seriously consider their attitude towards Yangchun and Chunyang Palace. Taoism was now very satisfied with Yangchun. Not only did Yangchun improve his own cultivation and combat power, but he also improved the disciples of their sect, who were Yangchun's wives and concubines. No matter what happened in the future, they would always have a share in the top combat power. This was a great benefit, and it would also be a great help in the future in the spiritual realm. When they saw Yang Chun again, the attitude of the representatives was much more respectful. Not to mention his age, Yang Chen's cultivation alone was enough to be on par with those experts whom they regarded as grandmasters. The people he made friends with were all fierce people like the Dragon Clan, so it seemed that it was not too much to be respectful. The matter of the golden immortal grandmasters was considered to have come to an end. They would find a suitable time to ascend within 10 years. Next, they would discuss the distribution of forces in the spiritual realm and the rewards for destroying the Zhao family. The latter still needed to be discussed after all the golden immortal grandmasters had ascended, but the distribution of forces in the spiritual realm must be clearly defined. Of course, the premise was to be clear about the current situation in the demon realm. Yang Chun did not hide anything and told them directly. Although the traitor of the Dragon Clan had been executed, Gong Sunling was still in the process of refining the other party's spatial magic treasure. She still needed some time to complete it. In addition, there was a vast space in the demon realm that needed to be refined, which required Gong Sunling to put in a lot of hard work. Some cultivators inevitably raised the question of whether the spatial treasures of the traders of the Dragon Clan could be handed over to the Joint Command, but they were quickly refuted by the other parties. Firstly, the spatial treasure of the Dragon Race trader was the spoils of war that Yang Chan obtained after killing Ao Senator, even if it was closely related to the spirit realm. If he wanted someone to take out a spoil of war, he would need something of sufficient value to exchange for it. More than half of the demon realm and spiritual realm had what could be exchanged for. Even a super sect wouldn't be able to take out an item of equal value, even if they used all of their sect's resources. Not to mention the spirit realm. There is no such rule in the entire three realms to ask someone a hand over their spoils of war when they could not offer anything in exchange. To be honest, there were many people who were jealous, but there were still many smart people who understood that they shouldn't have such ambitions. Even so many golden immortal ancestors didn't dare to say anything about it, so a few juniors wouldn't be able to get anything done. In addition, Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map was already a headache. If there was another one, who would be suitable to hold this magic treasure? When the great sect targeted the Zhao family, they could barely unite against them. But now that the Zhao family was no longer a great enemy, who would be willing to hold this magic treasure? Wouldn't the great sect fight to the death? At that time, it wasn't impossible for them to fight. This was a super spatial magic treasure that had almost refined the spirit realm. No matter who obtained it, they would probably become a hidden danger for the great sect. The cultivator who possessed it would definitely become the public enemy of the spirit realm, apart from his own sect. Then, there would definitely be a long war. Because of magic treasure, they would annoy Yang Chen's family and plant a seed for all parties to fight. Then, if they won, they would become the public enemy of the spirit realm. There were many advantages and no disadvantages. Instead of that, it was better to give this magic treasure directly to Gong Sunling. Anyway, Gong Sunling was already a hidden worry for all parties. With the mountain river geographical map in hand, it didn't matter if there was another spatial magic treasure. At that time, as long as they reached an agreement with Yang Chun, Yang Chen's family would ascend according to the agreement, then everything would be fine. As for whether Gong Sunling would be a big trouble in the immortal world with such a powerful magic treasure, that was a matter of the immortal world. Moreover, there were more powerful magic treasures in the immortal world. one Gong Sunling wouldn't be able to cause a storm in the immortal world. After making this decision, all parties seemed to be relieved, and it depended on the attitude of Yang Chen's side. Yang Chen was also very simple and solemnly promised that as long as the demon realm was refined, he would take his family and friends to ascend together. Among these friends, there were friends from the Dragon Clan. With this promise from Yang Chen, all parties were even happier. They also thought that after solving the troubles of Yang Chen's family, they would discuss with Yang Chen about the Dragon Clan Masters. After all, there were so many golden immortal level Dragon Clan Masters. After their own golden immortal masters ascended, they would be invincible. They didn't want to be enemies with the Dragon Clan, but they were afraid that the masters of the Dragon Clan would find trouble. Now that Yang Chen had solved all these troubles by himself, how could it not make everyone ecstatic? This was a bit of an unexpected surprise. After the surprise, they had to pay something. Yang Chen's side promised simply. Even if it was a plum in return for a peach, all parties had to show enough sincerity. Otherwise, when Yang Chen did things later, he would leave a little tail, and he could make the major sect cry. When it came to talking about benefits, it was naturally the Palace Master. In this regard, the Palace Master Zhang Jiao has been practicing in the mortal world and the spiritual world for many years. In the eyes of the Foreign Affairs Hall Masters, the Palace Master Zhang Jiao of the Pure Yang Palace was almost called a goose plucking its feathers. This was a recognized honor from the results of previous dealings. Speaking of it, the Palace Master was not harsh, and even in the process of negotiation, he would give a lot of benefits. But every time, in the end, all parties would find that the Palace Master got far more than what he gave up. It had to be said that this was his ability. In spite of this, all parties were still very happy to cooperate with the Palace Master. Just because of one point, that was, the Palace Master Zhang Jiao had always said one thing and said two things. From the point of keeping promises, the credibility of the Palace Master Zhang Jiao was 10,000 times stronger than many of the so-called moral models of cultivators. It was clear in advance that he would never go back on his word afterwards. As long as there was a need for cooperation, there was no one who didn't like this kind of partner. Moreover, this time, as long as the Palace Master was satisfied, in exchange, Yang Chen's family would keep their promise and ascend. This was what the major sect was happy to see. Even if the parties would have some small losses in certain interests, they were willing. Chapter 2482. In any case, all parties finally got a clear answer. Yang Chen's family, together with those friends of the Dragon Clan, would ascend collectively after refining in the demon realm. Moreover, whether it was Yang Chen or Yang Chen's wives and concubines, it was estimated that they would not appear frequently in the spiritual world. At most, they would return to their respective sect to deal with some private affairs, and they would not interfere with the normal management of the sect. This clear answer made all the high-ranking officials heave a sigh of relief. It was already very good that Yang Chen could agree to ascend. Now he also wanted to pull the masters of the Dragon Clan to ascend together. This was simply a buy one get one free good thing. In addition, Yang Chen also promised to completely solve the problem of the demon realm, which made everyone completely relaxed. Although everyone was jealous of the growth of the Mountain River geographical map, if there was another magic weapon that could refine the spiritual world, who could stand it? Even if Yang Chen didn't care, leaving the mess of the demon realm, it was estimated that it could make countless people die of headaches. Since Yang Chen promised to solve this problem, there was no future trouble. It could be said that so far, everything was satisfactory. At this point, Yang Chen had completed most of the matters of returning to the spiritual world. As for the affairs of the Chunyang Palace, the head of the palace and several other core executives were well managed. Because of the help of Yang Chen's Tianyuan pill, the cultivation of the head of the palace and the others had entered at least the realm of the peak fairy immortal or even the early Xian immortal. Coupled with Yang Chen's disciples, few disciples were dissatisfied. The new disciples who joined the Xintian sect had more and more recognized the Chunyang Palace over the years. It had to be said that it was comfortable to have a sect with a good reputation. In the past, when they were disciples of the Xintian sect, they were awe-inspiring when they went out but other sects were always on guard and always careful. Now, when they went out to sign up, the treatment of the disciples of the Chunyang Palace was not too good, and the attitude was not too kind. Many disciples had been intoxicated with this completely different feeling and regarded themselves as the purest disciples of the Chunyang Palace. Chunyang Palace had now become the fifth sect of Taoism. It was powerful, and the sect's development was booming. Everything was on the right track. Moreover, they had many experts, so they could be considered to have gained a firm foothold among the super sects in the spiritual world. Previously, because of the Zhao family, none of the sect's experts had ascended. Now that the ban had been lifted, all the major sect's experts had ascended. However, Chunyang Palace hadn't, because the Chunyang Palace in the Immortal realm did not have any foundation. Those who ascended now not only had to create a foothold for the disciples in the mortal realm to continue to cultivate and live after ascending, but also be able to withstand the pressure from all sides. Putting everything else aside, just the Black Heaven sect alone was a huge problem. Therefore, this kind of thing could only be done by Yangchun. The first batch of disciples of Chunyang Palace had no other choice but Yangchun. All the chores were thrown to the head of the palace to deal with, including the division of spoils in the future and rewards according to merit. All the things were considered to be given to Chunyang Palace. Yangchun had already made a fortune in the monster realm in Ao San, and he didn't look at the things that the sect could come up with. It must be known that the Zhao family manor in the monster realm had completely fallen into the hands of Gong Sunling. Just the things accumulated by the Zhao family over the years were enough for Yangchun's family to squander for several lifetimes. After Yangchun learned about the development of Chunyang Palace, he returned directly to the Mountain River geographical map. It was useless to stay in the spiritual world. It was better to return to the Mountain River geographical map to refine the Golden Bell and help Gong Sunling refine the monster realm. Ao Sin's Mountain River geographical map had been thoroughly burned by Yangchun's Yinyang heaven-burning fire, so refining it was quite easy. In addition, Gong Sunling's Mountain River geographical map had already refined 90% of the monster realm. The rest did not take much time for Gong Sunling. The remaining monster realm was only a matter of time before it was refined. What was a little troublesome was the merging of the two Mountain River geographical maps. As a traitor of the Dragon Clan, Ao Sun had killed many of his clansmen. When this guy refined a magic weapon, the materials were much stronger than Ao Guang's. Even the tool spirit was not on the same level. In Ao Sin's Mountain River geographical map, there were 9 dragon spirits as tool spirits, acting as the masters of the mortal world, the spiritual world, and the immortal world. If he wanted to completely refine Ao Sin's Mountain River geographical map, it would take a lot of work. This was not the most troublesome thing. The most difficult was the core of the monster realm. That place was like the demon realm. There was a thick monster crystal that had been compressed into a solid state by a strong pressure. It was no longer monster energy, not monster liquid, but monster crystal. In addition, the channel connecting the monster realm and the immortal realm was still constantly sending the condensed monster energy of the 3 realms. The core of the monster realm was much more troublesome than the core of the demon realm and harder to refine. However, this was also a test for Gong Sunling and the others. To be able to endure the tempering of the sea of monster energy in the core of the monster realm, it could be said that they could travel anywhere in the world. Gong Sunling was still refining Ao Sin's Mountain River geographical map step by step when Big Brother Li Cheng went to look for Yangchun. What? I'm going to close that channel? When he heard Big Brother Li Cheng's request, even Yangchun could not help but reveal a stunned expression. Big Brother Li Cheng had refined 2 locks from the start. One was for the demon realm, and the other was for the monster realm. Everyone was clear about this point. During the Devil Tribulation, it was Big Brother Li Cheng who personally went to the entrance of the passageway and closed it. Now that it was the monster realm's turn, Yangchun had to make a trip there. Is it very strange? Big Brother Li Cheng directly threw the lock that he had already refined to Yangchun. Now that you have cultivation and a firm will, why can't you make a trip there? Big Brother Li Cheng's words left Yangchun speechless. At this moment, Yang Chun recalled that this sworn brother of his would never do anything himself unless it was necessary. No matter what, he would find someone to do the work for him. It looked like Yang Chun had long since become the coolie that big brother Li Cheng had chosen. Last time, it was for him to demonstrate. This time, it was for him to do it for real. That's right. Seeing Yang Chun quickly become firm and eager to give it a try, big brother Li Cheng nodded his head in satisfaction. Young people should have the courage to shoulder heavy responsibilities and accept challenges. Didn't you obtain a new golden bell? Go in there and refine it. It seemed to be a very casual speech, but it directly gave Yang Chun an almost impossible task. He wanted Yang Chun to go to the core channel of the monster realm to refine the golden bell that Ao Sun left behind. It must be known that the last time Yang Chun completely refined the golden bell, he had to borrow the help of countless heavenly tribulations before he could complete this heavy responsibility. This time, he actually wanted to refine it at the channel in the demonic Chi Sea. Was this really not because big brother Li Cheng was making things difficult for him? Do you know why your golden bell was so weak? Big brother Li Cheng directly pointed it out. It is because it lacks some negative tempering. Chapter 2483. Only big brother Li Cheng could describe Yang Chen's golden bell as fragile. Other spiritual world cultivators, even Ao Lan and Long Quang, did not dare to have such a tone. Even Ao Sun could only leave some marks on the golden bell at most, but he could not destroy the structure of the golden bell at all. If he put in the spiritual world, Yang Chun would show the golden bell and stand there and let any cultivator attack it. Except for his wives and concubines, Yang Chun couldn't think of any cultivator who could break the golden bell. Such a performance was called fragile in big brother Li Cheng's words. Yang Chun was really speechless. However, thinking about it, if big brother Li Cheng made a move, perhaps the golden bell would really be as fragile as he described. There was no other way. Yang Chun had never seen through the depth of this sworn brother, but every word that big brother Li Cheng said would not be a lie. Since he said that refining the golden bell at the passage entrance had benefits, then there must be benefits. As for the reason, didn't big brother Li Cheng say that the golden bell lacks some negative things? Because of the naive thoughts of a certain big shot, it caused all the negative emotions in the three realms, including the yin chi of heaven and earth, to be concentrated in the demon realm and the demon realm. Therefore, although the golden bell was strong, it did naturally lack some negative things. Although Yang Chun had been baptized by the demonic chi in the demonic tribulation, it was clear that the demon realm was a higher level than the demon realm, and the demonic chi was also stronger than the demonic chi. Refining the golden bell was obviously the most suitable. Yang Chun was not the kind of person who was indecisive. When big brother Li Cheng said so, Yang Chun immediately began to prepare according to big brother Li Cheng's words. Li Cheng was most satisfied with this point of Yang Chun. He never questioned his own decisions. Even if it was an unexpected arrangement, Yang Chun would accept it calmly. All the girls were clear about the horror of the demonic Chi Si. Seeing that their husband was preparing, they also silently made the same preparations. It seemed that they all wanted to accompany their husband on this trip. Yang Chun had no choice but to persuade the women one by one, and he comforted and warmed them one by one, extremely charming and gentle. I knew it. Brother Li Cheng shook his head in the distance and sighed. On one hand, he showed his foresight, and on the other hand, he was glad that he was not burdened by women and lived a free life. Yang Chun was finally ready. He took the jade lock that big brother Li Cheng had refined and walked into the sea of demonic chi. The liquid condensed from a vast amount of demonic energy drowned Yang Chun. Next, countless crazy emotions began to surge towards Yang Chen's sea of wisdom. At the moment, Yang Chen's cultivation of spiritual power was at the golden immortal level, and his divine sense was at the peak of zenith heaven golden immortal level. He was only a step away from breaking through to the innumerable tribulation true immortal level. Yang Chun had long understood how terrifying the demonic aura was. Therefore, he had prepared himself for it. The soaring Heaven King Palace in his sea of consciousness emitted a brilliant light, suppressing all the demonic aura that had surged into Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. When Yang Chen integrated the hellfire of all beings, the soaring Heaven King Palace was also greatly enhanced. However, this major change did not cause Yang Chen's divine sense cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. It was as if nothing had happened. This made Yang Chen once wonder if the karma fire of all living beings was in vain. Fortunately, all the fire seeds had been upgraded by a level by the hellfire of all beings, which proved that the hellfire of all beings was not in vain. However, Yang Chen still felt a little uneasy, as if something was missing. In the past, Yang Chen did not understand this. It was not until the crazy demonic aura surged into his sea of wisdom that the hellfire of all beings began to show its power. Only then did Yang Chen vaguely understand a little. In the mountain river geographical map, Gong Sunling was consciously controlling it. Therefore, no one would feel that there was a strong demonic aura. There was only a trace of it, which did not affect a cultivator like Yang Chen at all. Not to mention entering his sea of wisdom, it could not even get close to his body. Now in the sea of demonic aura, the concentration of demonic aura had become extremely concentrated. No matter how strong Yang Chen's sea of wisdom was, it was impossible to block the demonic aura. As soon as the demonic aura entered the sea of wisdom, it was like igniting the fuse of the hellfire of all beings. The black flames began to burn the demonic aura. The more demonic aura poured in, the more vigorous the hellfire of all beings burned. Such a spectacle made Yang Chen unable to believe it at first. However, Yang Chen soon pondered over it. As Big Brotherly Chung said, the hellfire of all beings was the fire of life. Before, there were few living auras in Yang Chen's sea of wisdom. The demonic aura happened to be the gathering of the resentment of countless living beings in the world. It was as if the resentment of the hellfire of all beings appeared. The similar aura directly became the fuel of the hellfire of all beings. In Yang Chen's sea of wisdom, the hellfire of all beings began to burn. From the tiny bit of flame, it burned into a black flame that filled the entire space. It frantically absorbed the resentment of the demonic aura and grew crazily. If this continued, Yang Chen's sea of wisdom might be burned up by his own fire seed. Fortunately, Yang Chen did not only have the hellfire of all beings. He also had the furnace fire of heaven and earth. It was the opposite of the hellfire of all beings and could restrain the hellfire of all beings. No matter how fiercely the hellfire of all beings burned, the furnace fire of heaven and earth would always be in harmony with the hellfire of all beings. In the past, this was the case when the hellfire of all beings was weak. Now, it was still the case when it burned through Yang Chen's entire sea of wisdom. The Tao of balance in the world was nothing more than this. Yang Chen suddenly understood. All living beings lived in the world. The world had always been tolerant, maintaining the balance between all living beings and the world. No matter how violent or destructive the living beings were, the world would still be tolerant. No matter how crazy the demon beasts in the demon realm were, wasn't the demon realm a peaceful existence that nurtured those demon beasts? It was just like the situation of the furnace fire of heaven and earth and the hellfire of all beings at this moment. The changes in the sea of wisdom were directly reflected on the second primordial spirit and the third primordial spirit. They were both Yang Chen's spiritual senses. Their spiritual senses were interconnected, and they felt the feelings of Yang Chen's main body almost at the same time. The next moment, two more consciousnesses suddenly appeared in Yang Chen's sea of wisdom. They were the second primordial spirit and the third primordial spirit. After being separated for a long time, the three primordial spirits gathered together again and felt the tempering of the hellfire of all beings together. The almost unlimited demonic aura provided a steady stream of fuel for the hellfire of all beings. The raging flames began to burn Yang Chen's consciousness frantically. At the same time, they also burned the consciousnesses of the second primordial spirit and the third primordial spirit. The three primordial spirits were already ridiculously strong. At this moment, They were tempered and tempered by the sledgehammer of the hellfire of all beings, making them stronger and stronger. There is not only good in this world, but also evil. There is not only yang, but also yin. There was not only good, but also evil. This was a dualistic world. Without any one of them, it would not be complete. When he thoroughly understood this, Yang Chen's spiritual sense cultivation finally began to soar again. Chapter 2484. The divine sense realm of Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal finally began to break the barrier. When the three primordial spirits were combined into one to be tempered and tortured by the hellfire of all beings, he successfully entered the 10,000 tribulation true immortal realm. This was the realm that Yang Chen had not touched in his previous life, including breaking the barrier. In the future, Yang Chen's eyes were all black, and he did not know anything. However, since he was called 10,000 tribulation true immortal, he had naturally experienced 10,000 heavenly tribulations. He was not clear about other things, but when Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal crossed the heavenly tribulation, there were 9,999 heavenly tribulations. Yang Chen was still clear about this number. But in addition, Yang Chen also understood that not only did he have to cross the heavenly tribulation, but he also had to endure a similar amount of suffering in his heart. There were all kinds of negative emotions, all kinds of interference, confusion, numbness, temptation, and so on. Only after experiencing the tribulation of endless negative emotions could he really enter the 10,000 tribulation true immortal realm. The hellfire of all beings received the resentment from the demon aura. Every trace of it was a tribulation. The burning hellfire of all beings was more than thousands. No wonder elder brother Li Cheng insisted that he enter the demon aura sea to refine the golden bell and put the lock at the entrance of the passage. There had never been a moment when Yang Chen was so grateful to elder brother Li Cheng. When he was still in the spiritual realm, he fully felt the taste of the 10,000 tribulation true immortal realm. This benefit could no longer be described as kindness. It could be said that he was a second parent. When Yang Chen was suffering from the hellfire of all beings in the demon aura sea, there was a magical scene outside. The entire demon aura sea began to boil, and then a huge vortex was formed somewhere in it, spinning wildly. This strange situation immediately attracted the attention of the women who had been paying attention. Everyone looked at the strange situation inside, and no one knew what was going on. But the next moment, Gong Sunling found that the third primordial spirit of the mountain river geographical map had disappeared, and she broke out in a cold sweat. This boy is really good at understanding. Just when the women were in a panic, elder brother Li Cheng's voice of praise sounded in their ears, and they immediately found their backbone. Don't be afraid. This is a good thing. Elder brother Li Cheng hurriedly pacified the emotions of all the women. After letting out a long breath, he once again felt lucky for not being bothered by women. I really can't imagine that this sworn brother of mine has so many women and is actually enjoying it. The most complicated thing in the world was the human heart. Li Cheng asked himself if there was anything he didn't know, but he couldn't guess the thoughts of these women. While the karmic fire of all beings was refining Yang Chen's three primordial spirits, the furnace of heaven and earth wasn't idle either. It was also using the most natural and undetectable method to refine the three primordial spirits. It was just that the karmic fire of all beings was too intense, causing everyone to subconsciously neglect the refinement of the furnace of heaven and earth. Yang Chen's primordial spirit was being tempered, but his body did not stop. He continued to walk forward towards the entrance of the passageway. The girls could only watch as the demonic Qi Sea went further and further away, until they could no longer see it. When Yang Chen finally awoke from his training, he discovered that his second and third primordial spirits had already left and returned to their respective places. There was a new change in his sea of consciousness. The original soaring Heaven King Palace still looked the same, but there were many more rich colors and layers. Previously, Yang Chen only relied on his own memory to restore the soaring Heaven King Palace. Although many details were exquisite, they might not really be the details of the soaring Heaven King Palace. Sometimes it didn't look that natural. When the consciousness from outside rushed in, its first reaction was to be intimidated. Then, it was a huge pressure. Even Ao, Sun, could not sense anything unusual about this place. It was that kind of aura that covered all the flaws. However, the current Lingxiao King Palace looked so natural. The cloud patterns on every pillar in the palace, and the patterns on every floor tile, looked so appropriate. The colors looked so comfortable. It didn't have a lot of majesty, but it looked like it was real. Looking at this scene, Yang Qin's face could not help but show a smile. Why was it called Myriad Tribulation True Immortal above Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal? 10,000 tribulations were used to describe the difficulty of going through the tribulations of the heavenly tribulation. The word true referred to the nature of returning to one's natural state. Although the soaring Heaven King Palace had lost a lot of its fake dignity, its real imposing manner didn't weaken at all. On the contrary, it became stronger and stronger. The demonic energy that had rushed into the sea of consciousness could only lie flat at the bottom of the soaring Heaven King Hall. It flowed peacefully, and it couldn't stir up any crazy waves. Looking at the dozens of real dragon spirits coiling around the dragon pillars in the hall, Yang Chun suddenly smiled. With a thought, a black and white flame began to sweep over those dragon spirits. Under Yang Chen's control, the dragon spirits quickly experienced the baptism of the furnace of heaven and earth fire and the karmic fire of all beings. The dragon spirits, who had lost all their memories, finally entered a state of no thoughts and no thoughts. A heavenly dragon aura emerged from their bodies. In the sea of consciousness, Yang Chun was an omnipotent god. With another thought, he communicated with Yang Chen's third primordial spirit. Instantly, the original 3 dragon spirits in the mountain river geographical map appeared in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. It was the same as when Yang Chun baptized the dragon spirits on the dragon pillars. When the 3 dragon spirits returned, Gong Sun Ling only felt that the mountain river geographical map was light for a while. At this moment, Ao Sin's mountain river geographical map seemed to become a child that could be kneaded by herself. It easily swallowed all the remaining demon realm space, and even Ao Sin's mountain river geographical map was swept away. There was no half left. In Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, 9 more dragon spirits filled with essence appeared. These were the artifact spirits of Ao Sin's mountain river geographical map. However, they were forcefully refined by Ao Sun and were filled with unwillingness and viciousness. Shaking his head, Yang Chen couldn't help but sigh at Ao Sin's tyrannical method. It looked very tyrannical and powerful, but it did not obtain the true essence. In the end, his path would not be able to walk. The furnace of heaven and earth fire and the karmic fire of all beings first erased the memories of the dragon spirits, freeing them. Then they underwent a baptism similar to rebirth. After the baptism, they were sent back to the mountain river geographical map. After all, they were the most compatible with the mountain river geographical map. Sending them back would increase the control of the mountain river geographical map to the greatest extent. The changes in the mountain river geographical map were directly reflected in Gong Sunling's mind. Then, Gong Sunling revealed a happy smile. Even when her husband was cultivating, he did not forget to help her solve her problems. With a husband like this, what more could a woman ask for? Gong Sunling was already able to solve Ao Sin's mountain river geographical map in a short period of time. Yang Chun began to consider refining the golden bell that he had previously refined. At the same time, he would refine Ao Sin's golden bell and seal the passage. Chapter 2485. In the past, when Yang Chun refined the golden bell, it took him a lot of effort. Of course, at that time, Yang Chen's cultivation was low, and the golden bell was a magic weapon refined by the dragon clan. It was not easy to forcibly integrate it with human beings. He had to rely on the power of heaven's retribution to completely integrate the golden bell into his body. However, after experiencing the double tempering of the furnace of heaven and earth and the all-beings karmic fire, it was much easier to look back on this process. When Yang Chen's golden bell was fully activated, there would be 8 dragon shadows flying up and down. In fact, they were not dragon shadows, but 8 real dragon spirits. In other words, there were actually 8 dragon spirits in the golden bell. It was just that Yang Chen's cultivation was low at that time, so he could not activate them. Now, Yang Chen's powerful divine sense of 10 tribulations true immortal was enough to firmly suppress the dragon spirits in the golden bell. Yang Chen could already control the golden bell, which was equivalent to at least half of the dragon spirit's recognition. Coupled with the current divine sense suppression, the golden bell spirit was absolutely convinced by Yang Chen. Yang Chen, who was overjoyed, immediately used the 2 fire seeds to baptize these dragon spirits in the way he treated the mountain river geographical map spirit. The golden bell in his body was easy to deal with, but the golden bell refined by Ao-san was troublesome. Moreover, it had to be in such an environment, which made Yang Chen aware of the great difficulty before he started. However, when Yang Chen took out the golden bell and prepared to refine it, he found that things were much simpler than he had imagined. In this level of demon chi si, even Ao-san himself did not dare to set foot in it. As for the golden bell's artifact spirits, they were all artifact spirits refined by Ao-san after he killed them. Even Ao-san was no match for the demonic chi si, so the dragon spirits were even more vulnerable. The golden bell was instantly swallowed by the demonic chi, and the dragon spirits were invaded by the demonic chi almost at the same time, turning into lunatics. This process should be the process of those monsters in the demon realm becoming crazy monsters without active consciousness. However, in the demon chi si, the process was accelerated by many times. To deal with a few dragon spirits without sanity, Yang Chen was simply a piece of cake. Not only the dragon spirit, but even the golden bell was absorbed into Yang Chen's knowledge sea. The cauldron of heaven and earth and the karmic fire of all living beings worked at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the golden bell was imprinted with Yang Chen's spirit sense, and the dragon spirit also became obedient. After all, after being burned by the furnace of heaven and earth and the karmic fire of all beings, these dragon spirits would first lose all their memories. This was a complete release for them. In addition, after becoming a pure artifact spirit without any other thoughts, the power of the entire magic treasure would also increase. The golden bell in Yang Chen's body can no longer be taken out because it has been integrated with Yang Chen's body, so the invasion of the monster chi is not very strong. However, Ao-san's golden bell was completely invaded by the sea of demonic chi. There was not even the slightest gap left. Although using the cauldron of heaven and earth and the karmic fire of all beings to expel the monster chi was very simple, Yang Chen's heart stirred. Not only did he not expel the monster chi, but he also ordered the dragon spirits to absorb as much of the monster chi as possible. In the eyes of big brotherly Chung, the golden bell could not withstand a single blow. The reason was that he said that the golden bell lacked negative refinement. Since the golden bell in his body can no longer be changed, then this golden bell should be contaminated with the monster chi as much as possible. In any case, this golden bell was refined by Ao-san using some demonic Tao dragon race techniques, so it should be compatible with the nature of the monster chi. Yang Chen's guess was right. When the dragon spirits controlled the golden bell to absorb the monster chi, the golden bell instantly turned into a bottomless pit, crazily absorbing the sea of monster chi. What's more, a strong suction force directly sucked up the monster crystals at the bottom of the sea of monster chi, and then directly integrated them into the golden bell. While the golden bell was absorbing the monster chi, Yang Chen was not idle on the other side. He kept moving towards the core area, the passage that connected to the immortal world. The further he went, the more difficult it became. The monster chi was already so dense that it was almost completely filled with monster crystals. Yang Chen even had to use the immortal beheading saber to cut open the area sealed by the monster crystals before he could go further. However, As long as Yang Chun was slightly slower, the monster crystals that were cut open would immediately condense into one. The passage entrance was still sending a steady stream of monster chi over. Once it reached this side, it would be compressed, instantly filling up the gap that had just appeared. Not long ago, the second primordial spirit in Yang Chun had experienced the double tempering of the cauldron of heaven and earth and the karmic fire of all beings. Now is the time for it to give a try. The might of the immortal beheading saber was unleashed, causing the solid monster crystals to scatter. This section of the road was extremely difficult. He could only open the road bit by bit, advancing bit by bit. At this moment, Ao Sin's golden bell became Yang Chen's protective magic weapon, keeping the monster crystals that were about to gather a few feet away from his body. Yang Chen could not imagine how Big Brother Li Cheng entered the passage to the demon world through those thick monster crystals. But what was certain was that Big Brother Li Cheng must have used less time than him. His main body and the second primordial spirit together could not compare to Big Brother Li Cheng. Thinking of this, Yang Chen's unwillingness to admit defeat also came up. He sped up and rushed forward crazily. With the second primordial spirit controlling the immortal beheading saber, Yang Chun took out the jade lock refined by Big Brother Li Cheng from the merit ring and carefully observed it. This kind of magic weapon that could seal the space passage, Yang Chun did not have the opportunity to take it in his hands. If he did not study it, it would be too stupid, entering a treasure mountain and returning empty-handed. The refining of the jade lock was not complicated. It was a very simple 8 trigrams array. However, it was not as simple as an 8 trigrams array. What was even more mysterious was that the pattern on the jade lock was actually formed by 8 dragons. This could only be described as a coincidence. Yang Chun did not believe that Big Brother Li Cheng could accurately predict that Ao Sun would appear in that situation and deliver a set of dragon race magic treasures that were almost exactly the same as the one in Yang Chen's hand. But if it was not a coincidence, then what did it mean? Why did Big Brother Li Cheng want Yang Chun to personally seal the space passage at this crucial moment and make him refine the golden bell in the demon chi sea? What was even harder to describe as a coincidence was why the 8 trigrams jade lock refined by Big Brother Li Cheng happened to be a lock formed by 8 dragons to seal the space passage. But whether it was Yang Chen's own golden bell or the golden bell refined by Ao Sun, they both had exactly 8 dragon spirits inside. As for the number of dragon spirits inside, the 2 golden bells being 16, this was simply not important. The important thing was that Yang Chun had just gathered the furnace of heaven and earth flame and the all-beings karmic flame. The image of the Tai Chi ball formed in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness was almost right in front of Yang Chen's eyes. At this time, if Yang Chun still did not know what to do, then Yang Chun was the biggest fool in the world. Chapter 2486. 2 golden bells. One was soaked with demon energy. The other was almost uncontaminated with demon energy. In terms of attributes, it happened to be 1 yin and 1 yang. If the 2 were combined, wouldn't it be a ready-made Tai Chi ball? The original shape of the golden bell would cause Yang Chen's whole body to be protected, but his feet would be attacked. This was caused by the shape of the golden bell. If it could be refined into the shape of a Tai Chi ball, it could be said that there was no blind spot at all. Elder Brother Li Cheng said that the golden bell could not withstand a single blow. It was likely that there was an exaggeration of this weakness of the golden bell. This opportunity in front of him was probably deliberately found by Elder Brother Li Cheng for Yang Chun to perfect his own defense arrangement. The 2 golden bells could form a perfect defense of the structure of the Tai Chi ball. As for those dragon spirits, looking at the dragon-shaped seal lock on the 8 trigrams jade lock, they would know what to do. Yang Chun has always had a principle in cultivation, that is, to do his best to strengthen his strongest aspect. This can be seen from his teaching Shi Shan Shan to specialize in the supreme pure yang sword chi, and letting Gong Sunling frantically strengthen the mountain river geographical map. Even Yang Chun himself was constantly strengthening the yellow turban strongman body refining technique, strengthening his strength and strengthening his defense. It was just that Yang Chun was good at more in this life. so he focused on strengthening his attack and defense. Other cultivators, in addition to their own life source magic weapon, would more or less refine some other types of magic weapons. But Yangchen only had two kinds of energy. One was the immortal beheading blade, and the other was the protective golden bell. Of course, the immortal beheading blade was not just the immortal beheading blade, but the great yin-yang five elements flying sword. In fact, this was in line with Yang Chen's attitude of constantly improving the magic weapon. It was enough to have something useful, not too much. At present, if he could perfect the golden bell, basically when Yang Chen ascended to the immortal world, he could not worry about his own safety for a long time. Yang Chen did not believe that the two Tai Chi balls formed by the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock, which could seal the space channel, could be easily broken by some golden immortals and great all-embracing golden immortals. Even if he truly had such a magical attacking method, Yang Chen still had the golden body, which was attained from the second level of Kwa Yi's secret knowledge. To put it bluntly, if there really was such a powerful super method that could break through Yang Chen's defenses, then no matter how many defensive methods Yang Chen had, it would be useless. While comprehending the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock on the jade locket, Yang Chen cut his way through the thistles and thorns. After a long time, Yang Chen finally arrived at his target, the entrance of the space passage. Truth be told, the demonic aura here was so strong that it had condensed into super hard demonic crystals. If it was an ordinary cultivator, he would have long become a lunatic who had been invaded by the demonic aura. Fortunately, Yang Chen had 2 fires to protect himself. Only then did he manage to reach the place safely. Along the way, Yang Chen had tried his best to explore the structure of the jade locket and the principle of the formation inside, but this was not enough. When the jade locket was not activated, its true power could not be fully revealed. Only when the jade locket was activated could Yang Chen fully feel the true power of the jade locket. Standing in front of the space passage, the immortal beheading saber had to constantly smash the demonic crystals formed in front of him and push them to the sides. Otherwise, Yang Chen would be pushed away by the demonic crystals that were constantly gushing out. The space passage was not very big. It was only the height of a person. It looked inconspicuous, but it gave people a sense of invisible oppression and tearing. Looking from this side, the world on the other side seemed to be floating in the illusion, which was very magical. Yang Chen did not waste too much time. After observing the entrance of the space passage for a while, he activated the jade locket. The activation of the jade locket was very simple. He just needed to explore it with his spiritual awareness, and then his spiritual power and spiritual awareness were stimulated at the same time. As soon as the jade locket was activated, Yang Chen heard a slight clicking sound. Then, the small jade locket that could be held in one hand suddenly became the size of the space passage, firmly blocking the space passage. This was not the end. The dragons carved on the jade locket seemed to come alive, meandering and swimming. Soon, the 8 dragons swam for a while, forming a complex, intertwined, very beautiful and mysterious 8 trigrams pattern. All the dragon heads were facing outward, and the forehead of each dragon clearly showed the position of an 8 trigram symbol. Then, the 8 trigram symbol on the forehead of the 8 dragons flashed and emitted a dazzling light. After the light flashed, the 8 jade dragons were fixed, forming a complete 8 trigrams golden dragon lock. The 8 trigrams golden dragon lock had completely integrated with the jade locket and even directly integrated with the space passage, completely blocking this end of the space passage. The moment the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock was formed, there was a crazy vibration in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. This vibration was so crazy, it was as if the soaring heaven of the Golden Palace had felt the vibration of the 3 realms and then transmitted it to Yang Chen. In fact, the 3 realms had indeed vibrated once. Compared to the previous time, when the Demon Realm space passage was sealed, the movement this time was bigger. An extremely strong earthquake broke out everywhere in the mortal realm, the spiritual realm, and the immortal realm. The vast land was torn apart, and countless mountains and rivers were destroyed, forming abysses. On the countless plains, towering mountains suddenly stood up. Almost in a short period of time, the entire three realms went into a frenzy that changed the entire world. The sealed space passage was like an enraged bull. It went up and down countless times, but it could not break free from the seal of the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock. Only then did it slowly calm down. For no reason, the all-life karmic fire in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness flared up again. It was as if the resentment in the world had suddenly increased by a lot. When Yang Chen saw this, he frowned. Something big must have happened. He had to go out and ask Big Brotherly Chung. Fortunately, Yang Chen could see the structure and changes of the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock clearly and firmly remembered it. In the next moment, the 8 dragon spirits on the golden bell in Yang Chen's body started to interweave into a complete structure according to the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock. When a portion of the golden bell came out and covered the heads of the 8 dragon spirits, they formed a clear 8 trigrams symbol. The entire structure was completely solidified. At the same time, the dragon spirits in the golden bell outside Yang Chen's body did the same, forming a firm 8 trigrams golden dragon lock. However, this 8 trigrams golden dragon lock was completely black, the opposite of the one in Yang Chen's body. When everything was completed, Ao Sen's golden bell started to slowly move closer to Yang Chen's body. Finally, it connected with the golden bell in Yang Chen's body. Under the control of Yang Chen's powerful spiritual awareness, the 2 golden bells that were connected together slowly deformed and slowly turned into a black and white Tai Chi ball that was slowly flowing. Chapter 2487. The structure of Yang Chen's 8 trigrams golden dragon lock was copied from Brotherly Cheng's jade lock structure, but the structure of the Tai Chi ball formed by the golden bell was different. Instead, it was formed by referring to the yin-yang Tai Chi ball formed by the furnace of heaven and earth fire and all beings' karmic fire. Similarly, Yang Chen did not intend to integrate the black part of the golden bell into his body. Since this world was binary, Yang Chen only needed to integrate half of it into his body. In this way, he could form a binary structure of 1 inside and 1 outside, 1 yin and 1 yang. Most importantly, the Tai Chi golden ball was not static. Instead, it slowly flowed between black and white. It could be said that there was white in black and white, and it could even change between each other under certain conditions. The golden bell no longer existed, but became the Tai Chi golden ball that was moving. The 2 8 trigrams golden dragon locks also fused with each other, penetrated and transformed each other, forming a very harmonious sphere, completely wrapping Yang Chen in it without any blind spots. When the flow of the Tai Chi golden ball reached an incomparably harmonious state, Yang Chen's heart suddenly moved. The bronze scabbard that contained Ancestor Lu's supreme pure Yang sword Qi suddenly appeared, and then forcibly integrated into the Tai Chi golden ball. When the 16 golden dragon spirits saw the bronze scabbard, they were like gluttons that saw delicious food. They all opened their mouths wide and crazily bit down on it, not at all polite. After a while, the entire scabbard was completely devoured by the 16 golden dragons. Previously, the 8 trigrams on the golden dragon head were formed by the materials that were forcibly dug out of the golden bell. However, after the bronze scabbard was swallowed by them, the materials that were dug out immediately turned into flowing liquid and quickly returned to the Tai Chi golden ball. Replacing those materials to form the 8 trigrams became the materials of the bronze scabbard. When Yang Chen's spiritual power poured into the Tai Chi golden ball, not only was the black and white Tai Chi ball slowly flowing, but even the 16 golden dragons on it were constantly moving according to a fixed structure. The Tai Chi ball was no longer the 2 immobile golden bells. Instead, it was a sphere that maintained a perfect flow and balance, with 16 wandering dragon patterns on it. Yang Chen no longer needed to use the immortal beheading saber to open up a path in the sea of demonic qi. Just the flow of the Tai Chi golden ball alone was enough to force the surrounding demonic crystals and the sea of demonic qi several feet away. Yang Chen strode forward with almost no hindrance. It was extremely easy. It took Yang Chun almost a year to enter the space channel from the outside, but it only took him less than a month to come out. Yang Chun walked out of the sea of demonic qi with ease. Before the three realms quake, the girls had been worried. Fortunately, Big Brother Li Cheng was by their side. They knew that it was caused by Yang Chun sealing the spatial passage, so they weren't too worried. However, it wasn't until they saw their husband walk out of the sea of demonic qi unscathed that the girls were really relieved. Yang Chun walked out with the Tai Chi golden ball on his head. If it weren't for the familiar aura of their husband, the girls would have thought that he was a stranger. However, the black and white Tai Chi golden ball showed an indescribable natural beauty, which made the girls immersed in it for a while. The flowing patterns on the Tai Chi golden ball were in line with the natural great Tao of all living beings in the world. The girls soon found that the changes in the golden ball were really thought-provoking. If it weren't for Yang Chun putting away the Tai Chi golden ball in time and waking the girls up, the girls might still be immersed in it and unable to extricate themselves. Every time, you can surprise me beyond my expectations. I really didn't choose the wrong person. Big Brother Li Cheng didn't seem to be affected at all. He just looked up and down at Yang Chun and kept nodding. He was very satisfied with Yang Chun's performance. "Thank you, Big Brother." Yang Chun respectfully cupped his hands and bowed to Li Cheng. This was gratitude from the bottom of his heart, and it had nothing to do with whether they were sworn brothers or not. Big Brother Li Cheng stood there and nodded. He accepted Yang Chun's bow with a clear conscience, and the smile on his face became even wider. "Shan Shan, use your full strength to attack me." Seeing the girls, Yang Chun was also a little impatient to know the defensive power of the Tai Chi golden ball. He immediately instructed Sure Shan Shan. Sure Shan Shan's eyes lit up. Without saying anything, she took out her immortal sword and charged at Yang Chun with a supreme pure Yang sword chi without holding back. Everyone knew that her husband had a scabbard to protect him, and the sword chi wouldn't hurt Yang Chun. Therefore, Sure Shan Shan didn't hold back and attacked with all her strength. Chi, the sharp immortal sword, and the supreme pure Yang sword chi stabbed at the Tai Chi golden ball at the same time, and only a very slight sound was made. The 8 trigrams on the 16 golden dragon heads only flashed slightly, and the supreme pure Yang sword chi was absorbed without a trace. However, the place where the tip of the immortal sword touched appeared a little depression. But that was all. The 16 dragon shadows just flowed naturally once, and the little depression disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. Sure Shan Shan's unreserved immortal sword and the sharpest attack of the supreme pure Yang sword chi only caused such a slight impact on Yang Chun. Aling, don't move. You attack together. Seeing this situation, Yang Chun didn't seem surprised and immediately ordered the girls to attack together. However, he still didn't let Gong Sunling and Zhou Xianying join in. This was a test, and he didn't want the girls to beat him up. The girls weren't afraid that they would hurt their husband at all. Smiling, they each took a position and then waited for Gao Yu's order. They all used their strongest attack methods and attacked Yang Chun, who was surrounded by them. Almost at the same time, countless magic weapons attacked Yang Chun's Tai Chi golden ball. The dragon horn flying sword, the flying sword of the Bai Ling battle armor, the 5 elements rope hook, and all kinds of flying sword and magic weapons. There were no less than hundreds of them, and they all fell on the Tai Chi golden ball. The Tai Chi golden ball showed a protective power that surprised the girls. Even such a simultaneous attack could only make hundreds of extremely slight depressions on the surface of the Tai Chi golden ball. But the next moment, the dragon patterns on the Tai Chi golden ball flowed, and with the black and white flowing, in just a breath's time, all the traces caused by the girls' attacks disappeared without a trace, leaving nothing. Zhou Xianying watched from the side, and suddenly felt an itch in her heart. Without saying anything, she took out the heavenly phoenix zither. This protective magic weapon could defend against physical and sword chi attacks, but it was impossible to block the omnipresent sound, right? The girls tacitly dodged to the side, watching Zhou Xianying play the strongest killing sound and attack their husband. Chapter 2488. Then, a miraculous scene appeared. The girls watched as the sound of killing caused a series of ripples on the surface of the Tai Chi golden ball. It was as if the sound of a zither was vibrating in one's hand. However, that was all. Zhou Xianying's strongest sound of killing only caused a series of ripples on the surface of the Tai Chi golden ball. There was no other effect. The golden ball will automatically counteract your sound waves in the opposite direction. I can only hear the sound from inside, but I can't feel any sound wave attack. Yang Chun casually kept the Tai Chi golden ball into his body, appeared, and said to Zhou Xianying. Zhou Xianying was almost invincible in the spiritual realm by relying on her sound technique. But in front of her husband, she was actually unable to achieve anything. This also made the girls sigh at the new protective magic treasure of their husband. However, Zhou Xianying was not surprised at all. Her strongest sound technique was basically useless in front of her husband's golden body. She was not affected at all. Try to attack the same point. Yang Chun ordered the girls again. This time, the girls knew how powerful the Tai Chi golden ball was. They no longer had any scruples and used their strongest means. According to Yang Chen's instructions, they bombarded a point on Yang Chen's Tai Chi golden ball. Boom! After a loud sound, there was a dent the size of a human head on the Tai Chi golden ball. The lowest point of the dent had been directly pierced by Shi Shanshan's Immortal sword. An attack concentrated on one point was indeed much more powerful than a scattered attack. Even with such an injury, the Tai Chi golden ball only took less than 10 breaths of time before it was restored to its original state in front of the girls. It should be known that the average cultivation level of the girls was now at the early stage of Golden Immortal. Moreover, each of the girls was much stronger than the experts of the same level. Each of them was an expert who could fight against 10 experts. More than 40 of them were equivalent to at least 400 ordinary Golden Immortals working together. But they could only cause such a little damage. And this was only the damage to the protective magic treasure. It did not even touch Yang Chen's skin. If it was Yang Chen's enemies, they would have a headache facing such a result. This is the fusion of two golden bells. After listening to Yang Chen explain the origin of the Tai Chi golden ball, Sun Xingxue reached out to touch the surface of the slightly flowing Tai Chi golden ball. She still seemed to be in disbelief, but everyone could see that she was feeling the flow of the 8 trigrams golden dragon lock by touching it. After the curious women asked all the questions they could, Gong Sunling stepped forward with a smile and asked Yang Chen, "Husband, do you want me to try?" Yang Chen nodded and warned Gong Sunling. First, try stacking the attacks of 1,000 cultivators of the same rank. Gong Sunling had not made a move before. The Mountain River geographical map was now considered to have the power of 1.5 worlds. Even if Yang Chen was strong, in the face of at least the number of cultivators in the Mountain River geographical map that had reached the level of Jingai, the 16th to the 20th power of 10, it was estimated that it would be broken. Having the power of one realm was so different. Therefore, Yang Chen asked Gong Sunling to limit the number of cultivators attacking at the same time to see where the limit of the Tai Chi golden ball was. Big Brother Li Cheng was also very interested in this test. He stood on the side and watched carefully. He also pointed out Gong Sunling's attack method. Perhaps Gong Sunling was the only one who could make Yang Chen treat her as if he was facing a formidable enemy, with only her white and tender fists. However, there were not so many Golden Immortals in the Mountain River geographical map. Gong Sunling replaced it with a larger number of Xian Immortal cultivators, according to the average number given by Big Brother Li Cheng. Boom! A punch hit Yang Chen's Tai Chi golden ball, and the result was the same as the combined force of the women just now, even slightly insufficient. It could be seen that the combined combat effectiveness of the women had exceeded the attack of 1,000 early-stage Golden Immortals. 10,000. Boom! The damage caused by Gong Sunling's fist was even greater. It was almost close to the size of an ordinary person's chest, but it still could not break the Tai Chi golden ball, let alone shatter it. It only took Yang Chen half a cup of tea's time for the Tai Chi golden ball to completely recover. 100,000. Boom! Yang Chun stood in the same place, but the dent in the Tai Chi golden ball almost covered a radius of 10 feet. The deepest part of the dent almost touched Yang Chen's body. Unfortunately, it was still a little short. Similarly, the result of this level of attack was only a dent in the Tai Chi golden ball, and it still could not be broken. However, the defense of the Tai Chi golden ball was strong enough, but Yang Chen's spiritual power was also pushed to the extreme. It was already a great blessing for a person to be unscathed in the face of the attack of 100,000 cultivators of the same level. It was simply impossible to not pay any price. After taking this blow, Yang Chun almost collapsed, just like Shi Shanshan when she attacked with all her strength. In any case, the protection limit of the Tai Chi golden ball was also based on the support of Yang Chen's spiritual power. Without enough spiritual power, he could not protect himself. At this point, it was basically the limit that Yang Chun could bear, and Gong Sunling did not need to experiment anymore. Yang Chun recovered for a while in the pile of spiritual veins specially prepared by Gong Sunling. Then, Yang Chun looked at big brother Li Cheng recklessly. "Let me try." What kind of person was Li Cheng? When Yang Chun looked over, he had already clearly understood the meaning of Yang Chun. Yang Chun nodded with a smile on his face. The women were even more curious, and they clamored for big brother Li Cheng to teach their bad husband a good lesson. "Okay, then I will try too." Li Cheng was not polite at all. He waited for Yang Chun to get ready, and then walked not far from Yang Chen's Tai Chi golden ball and casually punched the surface of the golden ball. Bang! The sound was not loud, but Yang Chun himself and the Tai Chi golden ball seemed to be hit by a giant hammer and flew away at high speed. They were still in the air, and the women's eyesight was good enough to see that at least half of the Tai Chi golden ball had disappeared. In other words, the half of the Tai Chi golden ball that was facing big brother Li Cheng had disappeared, and the power of the punch had even landed on Yang Chen's body. Even though Yang Chun had combined the power of the second level of Kwa Yi's secret skill with the golden body spell, his internal organs were still penetrated by the remaining power of the punch, and he couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, those women could only be described as dumbfounded. They couldn't imagine that this harmless big brother of theirs could be so fierce. They knew that he was powerful, but they never thought that he could be this powerful. After swallowing quite a few natural reward pills, Yang Chen's injuries finally stopped. Then he soaked in a pile of spiritual veins and began to recover his spiritual power, healing the part of the Tai Chi golden ball that was punched by big brother Li Cheng. After a whole day, Yang Chun finally recovered completely. Chapter 2489. Big brother, all you have to do is stretch out your hand, and you can solve all the problems. Why do you want me to run around so painstakingly? Yang Chun was exasperated. Why did he have to make such a simple thing so complicated? That's so tiring. Big brother Li Cheng was already drinking the wine brewed by Sun Qingxue not far away. He said to Yang Chun without turning his head, "It's better for you to run around than for me to run around." His words made Yang Chun speechless. Big brother Li Cheng didn't hide anything at all. He almost told Yang Chun that he treated Yang Chun as an errand boy. However, Yang Chun couldn't say a word. To be honest, could anyone be Big brother Li Cheng's labor? Not to mention anything else, just look at how much Big brother Li Cheng, a coolie, had raised his cultivation. Not to mention anything else, just the Tai Chi golden ball alone was not something an ordinary person could make. All the girls knew that their husband would be rendered speechless by Big brother Li Cheng's words, but they still watched with great interest as their husband was defeated. It was rare for their husband, who had always been a man with great authority, to have such a moment. Just looking at him was enough to make all the girls snicker for a long time. Big brother, the moment the passageway was closed, the karmic fire in my sea of consciousness suddenly rose. Yang Chen finally remembered what he wanted to know and asked, "Did it hurt a lot of lives?" "It's more than a lot of lives." Big brother Li Cheng sighed and shook his head. It was a massacre. Closing the spatial passageway meant that the order of the three realms was going to be reorganized. Under such circumstances, how could a few lives be enough to turn the tide? It could be said that all the places in the three realms, including the mountain gates of all the cultivation sects, had undergone great changes. The peace of the past no longer existed. From that moment on, all living creatures had to bear the normal yin energy of the world. Without the purification of the great figures, survival would be more difficult than before. Because of the unprecedented changes in feng shui in the three realms, the world would be turned upside down. Swords, wind blades, demons would run amok, and the world would be a sea of blood. This was inevitable. The only person to blame was the great figure who had benefited the living creatures in the past. Even the living creatures who had enjoyed these benefits had to share the karma. Whether it was the real sin or karma, it would not fall on Yangchun and Li Cheng. Even because Yangchun and Li Cheng offered the space channel, the order of heaven and earth returned to nature, which was a great merit. Gongsun Ling was even more so because the mountain river geographical map took in countless indigenous people of the mortal spiritual world and purified the crazy monsters of the demon and monster realms and achieved immeasurable merits. There was a cause and a karmic karma in the world. This was the embodiment of justice. If there was a cause, there would be a karmic karma. Yangchun, I want to discuss something with you. Brother Li Cheng was unprecedentedly serious. He was also very solemn when facing Yangchun. What is there to discuss? Big brother, just tell me. Yangchun did not say anything and directly gave the choice to Brother Li Cheng. Many of Yangchun's current achievements were guided by the memories of his previous life, but to a large extent, Brother Li Cheng's guidance was indispensable. Without Brother Li Cheng, Yangchun would never have achieved what he had now. Not to mention the other things. Just the merit chapter alone was enough to reduce Yangchun's achievements by more than 10 times without it. Not to mention the dangers of many things later. Just the achievements in alchemy and cultivation with the help of the merit chapter were far from what others could understand. It could be said that after having the merit chapter, Yangchun had truly stepped into the ranks of the top elites, and not just an ordinary, slightly outstanding expert. Brother Li Cheng and Yangchun wanted to discuss serious matters, and all the women avoided them. There were many things that they could not participate in. With them around, Brother Li Cheng might not be able to let go, so it was better to avoid them. Sending the yin shi of the three realms to the demon realm and the demon realm is not a big deal, but it is not a small deal either. Brother Li Cheng organized his words and said very sincerely, "Although there are tens of thousands of generations of ancestors who have enjoyed the blessing, I am afraid that it has also brought a lot of disasters to the future generations. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as a catastrophe of the world." Yangchun nodded. This was no longer a matter of one or two living beings, but was borne by tens of thousands of generations of living beings. Such a big thing was, of course, a catastrophe of the world. Compared with this matter, the little conspiracy of the Zhao family was simply not on the table. If such a cause and effect is borne by that big shot alone, I am afraid he will disappear directly. Brother Li Cheng did not procrastinate. After pointing out the seriousness of the matter, he immediately said the whole story. That big shot has a lot of connections with me. I don't want to see him end up like this, so I want you to help him. What do you think? It's still the same thing. After hearing this, Yangchun did not think much about it. He just smiled and said to Brother Li Cheng, "Big brother, you can make the decision. I will definitely do it." Brother Li Cheng seemed to be a little incredulous and asked, "Even if you have to pay all of your merit? I was just worried that a lot of merit would be wasted if I can't use it." Yangchun did not care about this small problem at all. He immediately smiled and said, "Big brother, if you need it, just take it. You also know that I am actually not on good terms with the Xintian sect. After ascending, I will inevitably turn the current heavenly court upside down. The merit is originally a waste. Big brother, if you can help me use it, I can't ask for more." Li Cheng looked up and down at Yangchun, as if he was seeing if Yangchun was sincere. Yangchun stared at Big Brother Li Cheng without any hypocrisy and let him examine him carefully. Finally, Big Brother Li Cheng let out a long sigh, as if a big stone had been lifted from his heart. He looked at Yangchun and finally smiled. Yangchun saw that Big Brother Li Cheng laughed easily, and he was also happy and also laughed. "Do you know how much merit you have and what use it is?" Big Brother Li Cheng's mood was a lot better, but he still asked as if he was testing Yangchun. It's not too late to regret it now. At most, I will buy the entire heavenly court and most of the celestial realm. But what is the point? Yang Chun smiled and shook his head. To be honest, with my current cultivation and a you in the others, I will definitely be able to live well in the celestial realm in the future. So what if I have more merit? So what if I have less? You really don't plan on leaving some for yourself? Big brotherly Chung seemed to confirm with Yang Chun at the end, and he was very serious about it. It was as if this question would deprive Yang Chun of his merit. Chapter 2490. I'll keep some. Yang Chun slyly smiled at Big Brotherly Chung and said, there are a lot of merit steals on Long Xian's body, enough for our family to use. Besides, Aling only saved a lot of merit this time. It will not be enough. Big Brotherly Chung pointed at Yang Chun with one hand and seemed to be speechless for a long time. After a while, he smiled bitterly and said, I forgot that you secretly hid a Swanee. After that, he also laughed. The two brothers no longer had any burden and laughed happily. Big brother, was the merit of the Tao ancestor not enough? Yang Chun asked curiously after laughing. One had to know that the Tao ancestor alone was a few immeasurable merit. In the face of this great tribulation of heaven and earth, could it not offset a part of the sin? Not enough. Brotherly Chung shook his head and said, it is not enough even with the Jade Emperor and the Queen Mother, but one more can make everyone feel better. Yang Chun was secretly speechless. Most of his merit actually came from the Tao ancestor and the Queen Mother and the Jade Emperor. It was not enough even with all of them added up. One could imagine how tragic this great tribulation of heaven and earth was. At this time, Yang Chun could not help but wonder if the rebellion of the heavenly court was really because of the reason that Yang Chun knew. But Yang Chun would not speak at this time. Some things would naturally be known when the time was right. If the time was not right, it was useless to force it. He did not know what method Brotherly Chung used, but Yang Chun suddenly felt his body sink slightly, and then immediately returned to normal. This feeling came and went quickly, but it could not hide from Yang Chun's senses. At first glance, it seemed that nothing had changed, but Yang Chun knew that Brotherly Chung must have made a move, and his merit should have disappeared without a trace. Sure enough, after using a little bit of the merit cultivation, the originally smooth cultivation method became sluggish at this moment. It was not until Yang Chun removed the merit cultivation method that it became smooth again. Fortunately, Yang Chun had almost mastered the golden body incantation. Otherwise, the danger of practicing the golden body incantation at the beginning was enough to make Yang Chun self-destruct. That's good too. You won't stand out when we get up there. Big Brotherly Chung closed his eyes for a while, not knowing what to do. Then he opened his eyes and looked at Yang Chun, nodded his head and said, otherwise, once you go up, the virtuous envoy will go crazy. Yang Chun, of course, understood what the merit envoy was for, so he naturally nodded in agreement. Just as Big Brotherly Chung had said, if he were to ascend with that body of merit, it would definitely be troublesome if the merit envoy investigated him. There was a guy named Shen Wansan in the mortal world. Wasn't he killed by the emperor because he was extremely rich? His wealth had already surpassed the national treasury. If he didn't slaughter such a fat sheep, when would he? Yang Chen's merit was wealth in the immortal world. How could it be described as being as wealthy as a country? Immediately afterward, Yang Chun felt a sense of peace enter his body from the outside to the inside. The karmic fire in his sea of consciousness also slowly weakened under this feeling. It was as if at that moment, the resentment of all living beings in the world suddenly decreased a lot. Big Brotherly Chung had already called the women over and briefly told them what Yang Chen had done. He thought that some of the women would feel that it was inappropriate an object, but he didn't expect that the women, whether it was Gao Yu, Gong Sun Ling, Shi Shan Shan, Sun Qing Xue, and Zhou Xianying, the five wives, Tao Junqi, Shi Wu Shuang, and the Murong sisters, or Lady Feng Hua, and the 30 concubines, all of them had the same attitude. As long as their husband agreed, they would completely agree. An invisible thing was slowly changing. Yang Chun could faintly feel that something was changing, but he couldn't tell what it was. He could only look at big brotherly Chung with a questioning gaze. The destiny of the three realms is changing. Big brotherly Chung simply mentioned it and didn't explain it in detail. Yang Chun just understood it briefly and didn't ask much. The topic of the destiny of the three realms was too big to be understood by Yang Chun, who was still in the spiritual realm at this stage. Even in his previous life, when Yang Chun reached the almighty immortal realm, he was far from qualified to talk about these things. From the beginning to the end, Yang Chun didn't feel reluctant at all. Maybe it was because these merits came too easily, or maybe Yang Chun really didn't put these merits in his eyes, but Yang Chun really didn't feel reluctant in his heart. As for whether Yang Chun was repaying his kindness, Big Brotherly Ching also said that even if Yang Chun took it out, it would only make the situation better, but it still couldn't solve the fundamental problem. Yang Chun never thought that there would be any return for this kind of help. If there was a purpose, Yang Chun would rather believe that this was to help him and Big Brother Li Chung become brothers and nothing else. However, there was still a question hidden in Yang Chen's heart, and he never asked it. Yang Chen always thought that Big Brother Li Chung was a disciple of the Tao ancestor, but Big Brother Li Cheng's words not long ago made Yang Chen uncertain. That big shot and Big Brother Li Chung had a good relationship. It was not easy to understand that a big shot in the immortal realm and a cultivator who ascended from the mortal world had a good relationship. Maybe Big Brother Li Cheng's identity was not as simple as being a disciple of the Tao ancestor. The next thing was relatively simple. After sealing the space channel, the rest was naturally to completely refine the demon realm. The demon chi sea was the core. After refining it, the demon realm would be completely refined, and it would be the time for Gong Sunling to succeed. The demon chi was a higher grade than the devil chi. It could naturally stimulate the live soil and cause the live soil to grow wildly. Using the same method, Yang Chun took the live soil flying sword and began to absorb the demon chi in the demon chi sea in an orderly manner and grew the live soil. Gong Sunling controlled the mountain river geographical map and frantically swallowed the space that grew out of the live soil. The newly absorbed space was all sent by Gong Sunling to the immortal realm in the mountain river geographical map at the suggestion of Yang Chen. The concentration of this demon chi was too high. Even if it was diluted by the live soil, it was still not something that ordinary cultivators could touch. In the immortal realm, those cultivators with high cultivation bases may slowly have the ability to touch and absorb a part of it. If it was placed in the spiritual world of the mortal world, it was estimated that no cultivator could reach this level even after many years. Gong Sunling began to refine it, and the women did not need to stay in the mountain river geographical map. Now that it had been decided to ascend, Yang Chun simply let everyone go back to the sect to deal with their own affairs of the sect. Those who should instruct the disciples should instruct the disciples. Those who should do things for the sect should do things for the sect, and make sure that everyone did not owe anything to the sect before they left. As for Yang Chun, Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Zhou Xianying, and Tao Junki, they also returned to Chunyang Palace. In the current situation, there was no need for Gong Sunling to stay at the entrance of the demon realm. Everyone was sitting in the Chunyang Palace, and it could also increase the confidence of the sect. Everything was ready, waiting for the core of the demon realm to be fully refined. Chapter 2491. The sudden return of Yang Chun and his family to the sect had a huge impact. The four sects were, of course, happy. Originally, their golden immortal grandmasters would ascend to the celestial realm in a few years. In the future, there would be no golden immortal grandmasters. How could they not be ecstatic when a few disciples suddenly appeared, and all of them were golden immortals? Although these disciples would ascend in a few years, as long as they could stay for a while, it would be an advantage for the sect. Among them, the Five Elements sect was the happiest. Other sects would only have one golden immortal disciple, but the Five Elements sect had five, and they were all personal disciples of sect Master Chui. Where else could they find such a good thing? Of course, the Five Elements sect pride was nothing compared to Yin Yang demon schools. How dare five golden immortal experts show their teeth? there were still 31 who smiled without saying a word. However, the happiest was Chunyang Palace. Yang Chun, Gao Yu, Gong Sun Ling, Zhou Xianying, and Tao Junqi, who originally belonged to the Xintian sect and was now a disciple of Chunyang Palace, were also 5. But these 5 were definitely more terrifying than all the golden immortal grandmasters of the other sect combined. For this reason, the sect that could not be related to Yang Chun by marriage almost all regretted it. If they had known that Yang Chun was so outstanding, they would have put more effort in the mortal world. Fortunately, Wuji Demon School was still closer to Chunyang Palace because of the master-disciple relationship between Yi Yu and Yang Chun. The other sects were thinking of ways to mend this relationship. Soon, the Reincarnation Valley and the Dongxian sect used Hua Xing, and Hu Yuexian as an example. After all, Hua Xing, and Hu Yuexian seemed to have left with Yang Chun. Yang Chun should at least give an explanation for their departure, right? When the news was sent to Chunyang Palace, Yang Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was this forcing a duck onto a perch? Madame Bai had taken them away, not Yang Chun. Only Madame Bai could decide how to deal with this trouble. What's so difficult? Just say that I took them as maids. Madame Bai could see that Yang Chun didn't have any interest in Hua Xing and Hu Yuexian, so she didn't push them into his arms. As for their sex, let Rose and Peony take a few sisters with them. Thus, Hua Xing, and Hu Yuexian returned to their respective sects with dozens of peak Xian immortals. The higher-ups of the Reincarnation Valley and the Dongxian Gate were shocked. Dozens of experts at the peak of the Xian immortal realm had come to visit them. This was no less than a golden immortal expert from the lower worlds. Although they could not be related to Yang Chun, sect was a sect, Xian sect, immortal, sect, shocked. This time, the Reincarnation Valley and the Dongxian Gate also shook. However, when the higher-ups of the Reincarnation Valley and the Dongxian sect learned from Hua Xing, and Hu Yuexian that Madame Bai had been a guest at Yang Chen's place, and that there were thousands of maids at the pinnacle of the Xian immortal level, they regretted it even more. If he had stood firmly on Yang Chen's side back then, God knows how many benefits he would have received. What a pity. Besides regret, there was also lingering fear. It turned out that back then, Yang Chun already had the strength to easily wipe out any sect. Fortunately, he didn't get into a deadlock with Yang Chun at that time. Fortunately, at that time, the Zhao clan acted as a public enemy to attract the attention of all the cultivators. Otherwise, who knew what kind of tricks their super sect would play on Yang Chun, the genius alchemist? All the sect members wanted to know the reason why the cultivation of the girls improved so quickly. Yang Chun had never given an explanation, but all the cultivators subconsciously thought that it was related to Yang Chen's alchemy skills. He was the only 8th grade alchemist in the spiritual realm, which explained everything. Although the golden immortal masters in the lower realm had never heard of any 8th grade elixir that could quickly improve a cultivator's cultivation without any side effects, it was not a problem at all for Master Yang. Wasn't the broken limb regeneration pill amazing? In the celestial realm, it would require at least an 8th grade refinement to be able to regenerate a broken limb. However, Master Yang relied on the combination of multiple fire seeds and the refinement of raw materials to reduce the difficulty of the 8th grade broken limb regeneration pill to the 6th grade elixir, and the effect was not reduced at all. With this living example, it was not a fantasy that Master Yang had a way to reduce the difficulty of the 9 transformation golden pill to the 8th grade and still have the same effect. And among the 9th grade golden pills, there were elixirs that could improve a cultivator's cultivation. Although the 9 transformation golden pills improvement in cultivation was not very significant in the celestial realm, one should not forget what level of cultivators could take this kind of golden pill. Even a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal could barely get it. It was estimated that a cultivator at least at the level of 10,000 Tribulation True Immortal could get it. It would be a joke if a few small cultivators at the level of Heaven Immortal or Xian Immortal took the elixir that could improve the cultivation of a 10,000 Tribulation True Immortal. There was no problem in refining the elixir, and the endless demon beasts all over the demon realm provided Yang Chun with endless medicinal materials for alchemy experiments. Coupled with Yang Chen's incredible creativity and imagination, the rapid improvement of the girls was really not worth doubting. After the girls returned to their respective sect, Chunyang Palace was not the same as other sect. The rise of Chunyang Palace was so fast that it did not have a deep foundation like those super sect. This was criticized by many cultivators and sect, but many cultivators did not say much for the sake of Yangchun and other super sect. But when the forest was big, there were all kinds of birds. There was always a group of guys who didn't know anything but thought they were very arrogant. They expressed their dissatisfaction and ridicule against Chunyang Palace on many occasions. The palace master had just taken over the Xintian sect. He did not want to leave the impression of bullying others in other sect, so he adopted an indifferent attitude towards these guys who only knew how to shoot their mouths, but did not actually take action. As long as they did not cause any substantial damage to Chunyang Palace, then they could do whatever they wanted. The world was big, could people not speak? Among them, the most fierce ones, especially those who tried to belittle and even ridicule Yang Chun, Wanbao Tower and Wine Immortal House always knew where they were. When Yang Chun and the girls returned to the sect, Elder Wu Xiong and Wine Immortal directly sent the news to Gao Yu. It was a trivial matter to say some strange words, and dissatisfaction with Chunyang Palace was not a matter of life and death. After all, Chunyang Palace was not a spirit stone, and not all cultivators could like it. However, they dared to speak irresponsibly to her husband, and even directly ridiculed and insulted him, which directly touched Gao Yu's reverse scale. If these guys had a grudge against Yang Chun, then it would be fine, but they had no grievances and they did not even have a close relationship. If these guys did this, it was not just provocation, but directly courting death. Chapter 2492. Gong Sunling had to refine the core of the demon realm with all her strength, and Yang Chun also had to do his best to help. The two of them certainly could not leave Chunyang Palace easily. The remaining three, Gao Yu, Zhou Xianying, and Tao Junki, with their respective disciples, also took Gong Sunling's disciple, and each took a disciple of Yang Chun. They divided into 3 groups and aggressively went to find these guys who were courting death. It was not only Yang Chen's family who were angry, but also Yang Chen's disciples. They had been cultivating in the Mountain River geographical map all these years. Although they had made a great reputation for killing before, they had not been in the spiritual realm for so many decades and hundreds of years. Unexpectedly, such a group of guys who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth jumped out and dared to challenge their master's authority. Apart from Mo Chunmei and Hannah Mengyu, they were all masters themselves. Even Mo Chunmei and Hannah Mengyu had high enough cultivation. It was just that their reputation was in alchemy and medicine, and they did not show too much killing. With the master's wife at the golden immortal level, Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others swaggered directly to those guys who insulted their master. Chunyang Palace was reasonable, and so was Yang Chun. So Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others went to the door, directly showed their identity, and then very sincerely asked their master how Yang Chun had offended these guys. When Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others came to the door, they hid their cultivation tightly, and showed that they were just a small cultivator at the Earth Immortal level. In the face of Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others, these guys began to perform all kinds of clumsy performances. Yang Chun had not appeared in the spiritual realm for thousands of years, and had no contact with these guys at all. These guys had all kinds of thoughts, whether it was jealousy, dissatisfaction, or wanting to step on Yang Chun. How could they say anything specific about offending him? Now that Yang Chen's disciple had come knocking on their door and asked for guidance politely, these fellows were immediately put in a difficult position. Those who were smart quickly apologized and promised not to do it again. They promised to compensate those who needed it. Those who needed it kowtowed to apologize to those who needed it. They respectfully sent Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others away. As for those who were not smart enough, they flew into a rage out of humiliation. They pointed at Mu Bo and Yi Yu and cursed. Mu Bo, Yi Yu, and the others hadn't appeared in the spiritual world for many years, so their fame had faded a lot. However, they were all well-mannered fellows. They sat where they were and waited for those fellows to finish their performance. Only then did they stand up, decapitate them with a single slash of their swords, and leave with their heads. In less than a year, at least hundreds of cultivators who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth lost their heads because of this. When the news spread, other than the relatives and friends of those who died, no one said that Mubo, Yu, and the others did anything wrong. The master was insulted, and the disciple stood up to seek justice. Was there anything wrong with that? Whether it was Gao Yu, Zhou Xianying, or Tao Junqi, I didn't have to show up at all, and these fellows were dead. Some relatives and friends who didn't give up relied on various relationships to find some big sect, wanting to ask these sects to seek justice for their dead relatives and friends. As a result, after a period of time, the heads of these fellows were directly sent to Chunyang Palace. It wasn't that there weren't any sects that stood out. It was just that the first-rate sect that stood out had only just revealed a little bit of their strength when they were directly annihilated by the surrounding large sections. Not a single person was left alive. The sect's territory was divided by several sect members, and the sect's property was all packed up and sent to Chunyang Palace together with the heads of all the disciples of that sect. The bloody lives made the cultivators of the spiritual world understand truth. Yang Chun would not take the initiative to provoke any cultivator, but if there was a cultivator who didn't know what to do, Yang Chun was not someone to be trifled with. Yang Chun didn't even need to show up, and there were people who were willing to solve any trouble for Yang Chun in this regard. Although in the eyes of Yang Chun, these were not trouble at all. A few years later, it was finally time for the golden immortals of the sect to ascend back to the immortal realm. Under the joint farewell of the senior leaders of the sect, 15 golden immortals, including Elder Yao of the Black Tortoise Academy, collectively triggered the heavenly tribulation and ascended again. Because all the golden immortals were golden immortals, the celestial immortal tribulation they triggered was the most ordinary one. After 99 heavenly tribulations, the 15 golden immortals easily ascended without any abnormalities. In the blink of an eye, another 200 years had passed. The spiritual world slowly recovered from the catastrophe brought about by the Zhao family, and the major sect had once again returned to its previous prosperous state. All parties were restrained enough. Except for some small-scale disputes, the entire spiritual world showed a calm and peaceful state of development, which was very rare. This year, all the major sect collectively received an invitation from Chunyang Palace. Grandmaster Yang Chun and his family and friends were going to transcend the heavenly tribulation and ascend, and all parties were invited to attend the ceremony. To be honest, all parties had been waiting for this day for a long time, but there had been no movement from Chunyang Palace. Now that the day had finally arrived, all the senior leaders of the super sect felt relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Although Yang Chun did not take the initiative to oppress others, the cultivation of his family was a huge pressure just by standing there. For a full 200 years, all parties did not dare to cause any trouble. They all quietly behaved with their tails between their legs. That feeling could simply drive people crazy. The senior leaders of all parties simply had the mentality of sending off a god of plague. They all happily rushed to Chunyang Palace to attend the ceremony. For such a big matter, they had to see it with their own eyes before they could truly feel at ease. After 200 years, Gong Sunling had finally completely refined the core of the demon realm. Of course, it was with the help of Yang Chen's living soil flying sword. The women had also refined and fused with Ao Sin's magic treasures and body. They had completely completed everything in the spiritual world and were finally about to ascend. The senior leaders of all parties who rushed to Chunyang Palace in high spirits were all shocked when they found out about the scale of this ascension. Yang Chen's family had 44 people. One was Li Cheng, one was Lin Jingyuan, one was Ao Lan, Ao Lai, and Long Quang of the Dragon Clan. Together with the 6 from the Long Clan, there were a total of 9 people. There was also one that was very surprising. It was actually Long Can and Long Quebec. These 2 fellows were completely convinced. After they broke free from Ao Sen's control, They also joined Aolon. However, although they had 2 heads, they only had 1 body and could only be considered one. Originally, everyone thought that this would be the number. In the end, when Madame Bai's group came out, everyone was scared stiff. There were more than 1,000 of them, all peak profound immortals. Such a lineup could easily sweep through the spiritual world. Before everyone could feel fear, the heavenly tribulation started. Before all the spectating cultivators' incredulous gazes, 99 extremely ordinary heavenly tribulations descended. They did not affect each other when so many experts underwent their tribulations at the same time. This flabbergasted everyone. Even after everyone disappeared, the crowd still could not recover their wits. Why did it look like everyone had already undergone their heavenly tribulations? The other experts might not be sure, but Yang Qin's family was a regular cultivator who ascended from the mortal world. Where did they undergo their heavenly immortal tribulations? However, this was no longer important. What was important was that the shadow in everyone's hearts that they could not get rid of had already ascended and would no longer affect the spiritual world. As for Yang Qin's family, everyone did not have any ill intentions. However, since they had ascended to the immortal world, they wished them good luck in the immortal world. They hoped that with their golden immortal cultivation, people in the immortal world would treat them differently. Chapter 2493. Apart from Yang Qin, all the cultivators who ascended together with him were probably not familiar with the ascension area of the immortal world. Perhaps it was not accurate to say this, but at least Madame Bai and the others should be very clear about it. However, their memories and cultivation were sealed, so they might not remember much. In addition, Big Brotherly Chung, Yang Qin was not completely sure. At least looking at his current appearance, he did not look unfamiliar at all. Everyone's current location was actually in an area with a radius of 100 miles. As soon as Yang Qin came up, he felt the familiar spiritual pressure of the immortal world. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, he immediately found everyone's location. Even though everyone was together when they ascended, they were still scattered messily when they ascended. This was because everyone was close at the time, so they were scattered within a radius of 100 miles. If not for this, and the cultivators of the spiritual world ascended separately, this area with a radius of 1 million miles would actually be the ascension area. All the ascended cultivators would randomly appear at a certain point in this area. Slightly different from the spiritual world, this ascension area was surprisingly large. It was not something that could be casually covered with an array formation. In the ascension area, the spiritual pressure was a bit lower than that of the normal immortal world outside. This was similar to the spiritual world to allow the ascended cultivators to quickly adapt to the spiritual pressure of the immortal world. Presumably, after the lesson of ascending to the spiritual world, there would no longer be any brainless newly ascended cultivators who would casually attack any living beings here. The ascension area was large enough that even if an enemy wanted to stop the newly ascended cultivators here, it would not be easy. Not to mention the sect surveillance around the ascension area, just randomly appearing in a certain place was enough to give countless people a headache. In his previous life, Yang Qin even avoided the search of the profound heaven sect's disciples in this area several times. It was not until he left this area that he was once again captured. Soon, everyone gathered together. Everyone was there, and no one was missing. Before everyone could figure out what to do, something happened on Madame Bai's side. It wasn't just Madame Bai. Madame Bai and all of the maids looked extremely weak, which scared Yang Qin. After a brief inspection, Yang Qin heaved a sigh of relief. This was not because Madame Bai and the others were in trouble, but because the seal was being undone. The seal that sealed Madame Bai's cultivation was slowly disappearing. At the same time, it would also take away some of Madame Bai's spiritual power, which was why she felt so weak. It seemed that Ancestor Lu's seal was targeted at the spirit world. Once he returned to the immortal world, the seal would automatically open. However, he did not know if Madame Bai and the others would recover their memories. With Madame Bai and her entourage in such a situation, they definitely couldn't just casually appear here. Yang Qin waved his hand and took Madame Bai and the others into the Dragon Palace. In the Dragon Palace, they could remove the seal without being affected, and it was safe enough. For Yang Chun and the others, things like adapting to spiritual pressure did not exist at all. The environment of the immortal world in the Mountain River geographical map was almost exactly the same as here. The spiritual pressure was also exactly the same. In fact, the spiritual pressure in the Dragon Palace was even higher. There was no problem of adapting to the spiritual pressure. Naturally, there was no need for them to waste any more time here. They could just go straight to the periphery. After determining the direction, Yang Chun led the group straight to the northeast. "Husband, why are we going this way?" The one who asked curiously was always Sun Qingxue. Only she would always act like a curious baby in front of her husband. However, her question was the same as everyone else's. They all want to know why. The Tao sect is in this direction. Yang Chun did not need to explain much. One sentence was enough to explain the problem. Actually, everyone should do this before they ascended. They should try their best to understand the things above. However, not every cultivator was qualified to understand. Even those golden immortals in the lower realm were warned not to reveal too much about the situation above. Naturally, the ladies did not care how Yang Chun knew. They only knew that Yang Chun would definitely bring them to the most convenient and suitable path. Although there was no need for them to adapt to the spiritual pressure, Yang Chun did not use his fastest speed. He only used the most comfortable speed and leisurely sat on Gong Sunling's fortress ship. After all, the Mountain River geographical map was slightly different from the outside. If they stayed a few more days, they would be able to adapt to it for a few more days. This would also allow everyone to understand more. After traveling for a few days, Aolan suddenly came to bid farewell. She sensed the unique call of the dragon race. Hence, she wanted to bring her fellow race members to the immortal world's dragon race. Aolan did not know what the situation of the immortal world's dragon race was like. It was also not convenient for her to bring Yang Chun and the others there. Hence, she could only bid farewell. Yang Chun did not mind this. After all, this was the dragon race's matter. Yang Chun would not meddle blindly. As for killing Ao's son, the traitor of the dragon race, Yang Chun did not care at all. Since he dared to kill Ao's son, why would he be afraid of getting revenge? Aolan and the others would definitely resolve this matter. Yang Chun bid farewell to Aolan and the others, sending off the dragon race's group with their eyes. Now, only Yang Chun's family and Big Brother Li Chung were left in the group. Big Brother Li Chung could not be bothered to come out and look for directions. He was also leisurely staying in a Mountain River geographical map, busy with who knew what. Hence, only Yang Chun's family could be seen by others. 40-odd golden immortals were traveling. Aside from Yang Chun, the rest were all extremely beautiful women. They were like the moon surrounded by stars, making others feel envious and jealous. After traveling for another 10-odd days, they had probably traveled hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Just as they were about to leave the Ascension region, Yang Chun suddenly met someone familiar. They were acquaintances because they had known each other in the spiritual realm. Furthermore, they had spent quite some time together. However, their relationship was not that friendly. A group of people appeared. The one in the lead was that lower realm golden immortal expert from the Ghostly Soul sect. After being taught a lesson by Yang Chun, he had been imprisoned in the Mountain River geographical map for many years. This golden immortal expert had already returned to the immortal world for 200 years. It looked like his cultivation had improved again. He was already a late-stage golden immortal. There were also 20-odd experts beside the golden immortal expert. When the women saw these cultivators, they all raised their guard. These 20-odd experts were all Zenith Heaven golden immortals. Judging from the timing and manner of their appearance, they were definitely not here to welcome them. "I have waited for you so bitterly." The golden immortal expert revealed a sinister smile. "In the spiritual realm, you made us lose face. Now that we are in the immortal world, the tables have turned. It is time for you to pay the price. That's all you have." Yang Chun did not care about the 20-odd Zenith Heaven golden immortals not far away. He smiled coldly and said, "Such a formation to welcome our newly ascended family. Admirable, admirable." Chapter 2494. His words were full of sarcasm and sarcasm. It was as ugly as it could be. If it was the kind of guy with strong self-esteem, he would have long been ashamed to show his face. Thank you for the compliment. Obviously, the golden immortal master of the ghost sect was not that kind of person. He had been in the demon sect for almost 10,000 years and ascended all the way from the mortal world to the immortal world. It was simply impossible for a few words to embarrass a thick-skinned old guy like him. Not only did this guy not feel embarrassed, but he was proud of it instead of feeling ashamed. However, it seems to be against the rules for the newly ascended cultivators in the land of ascension, right? Yangshan also knew that it was useless to talk nonsense now, so he did not talk much and asked directly. This was a protective clause for newly ascended cultivators, and it was also an invisible rule in the entire immortal world. Even if there was a great hatred in the spiritual world, the one who ascended first could not find trouble with a newly ascended opponent in the land of ascension. If they wanted to settle their grievances, no one would care, even if they were beaten to death outside the land of ascension. This group of people from the ghost sect appeared sneakily in the land of ascension, which was obviously against the rules. No matter how big the rules are, aren't they still set by the cultivators? The golden immortal master curled his lips. He really didn't know if Yangshan was really naive or pretending not to understand the rules at this time. He was already here. What was the point of talking about pedantic rules? If this wasn't a joke, then what was it? Cut the crap. I'll give you a way out. After the golden immortal master despised Yangshan, he directly laid his cards on the table. Hand over the mountain river geographical map and come with us. I will imprison you for as many years as you imprisoned us. When the time comes, I will let you leave alive. You didn't kill me back then, and now I'll give you the chance. Don't say that I didn't give you a way out. To be honest, it's not too much. Yangshan nodded very cooperatively, and then asked the golden immortal master. However, what makes you think you can do this? With these Zenith Heaven golden immortal masters you brought? To be honest, it's not enough. Grandmaster, you've seen it with your own eyes. This disciple isn't spouting nonsense. When the golden immortal master heard Yangshan's words, he was not angry, but happy. He took a step back and bowed to the Zenith Heaven golden immortals who came with him and said, he was arrogant and domineering in the spiritual world and never put our sect in his eyes. I didn't expect him to be like this in the immortal world. Young people are arrogant and despotic. They don't understand the difficulties of the world. As elders, we can only tolerate them. The perfected golden immortal with the highest cultivation base slowly took a few steps forward and said to Yangshan with a smile, for the sake of your meritorious service in fighting against the Zhao clan in the spiritual realm, we can overlook your ignorant and naughty behavior. However, even if you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. The perfected golden immortal had a posture of having everything under control. He waved his hand and said, during the period of imprisonment, refine elixirs to sharpen your temper. When you refine the 9 transformations golden elixir, you can leave. As for you, after saying the punishment for Yangshan, the perfected golden immortal turned to look at Yangshan's wives and concubines and wave his hand very generously. For the sake of your respective sect, I won't care about it. However, these people from Chunyang Palace have to stay, lest you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth and offend people outside without knowing it. This is also for your own good. It sounded like it was very easy to talk to, but in fact, everyone understood that it was all because of the forces behind them. The ghost sect, a sect, would never imprison or kill Yangshan's family for Yangshan alone. That was an act of directly falling out with the 4 sects of Dao sects and Yin Yang Demon School. However, Chunyang Palace was a sect that didn't even have a fart in the immortal world, so as long as it targeted Yangshan, Gaoyu, Gong Sunling, and Zhou Xianying, other sect couldn't stand up for a non-existent Chunyang Palace, right? The golden immortal master of the ghost sect had waited for 200 years for this day. When the ghost sect in the spiritual world received the invitation to watch the ascension of Yangshan's family, a master directly ascended and sent the news to the immortal world. This guy was also very careful. He judged that no matter which area Yangshan's family ascended to, they would definitely go to the Dao sect's territory. so he had been waiting here for a long time. Heaven did not disappoint those who waited. He finally waited for the arrival of Yang Chen's family. When he was in the mortal world, Yang Chen was powerful. He could beat 6 of them with 2 fists, but that was in the spiritual world. Now the seniors he invited. The worst one was a middle stage, almighty immortal. More than 20 almighty immortals against more than 40 early stage golden immortals. It was absolutely a crushing victory. In addition to the revenge in the spiritual world, the wealth of Yang Chen's family was also an absolute reason for him to be tempted. Not to mention the mountain river geographical map. Just the body of the traitor of the dragon clan behind was enough to make people excited. Originally, he thought that there would be 10 masters of the dragon clan traveling together, and there would be a hard battle to fight. As a result, the masters of the dragon clan and Yang Chen's family parted ways. It was simply heaven helping. If he didn't seize such a good opportunity, would there be a chance to touch everything of Yang Chen in the future? Letting the girls leave was also based on the premise that they didn't meddle. However, looking at the situation in front of him, it seemed that this plan had failed. The almighty immortal said so much, but none of the women moved. Not only did they not intend to leave, but their eyes lit up one by one. It seemed that they were waiting to make a move. This situation was also expected by the people of the Ghost Soul sect. After all, they were a family, and their relationship was closer than that of brothers and sisters. Judging from the performance of their family, they would definitely make a move in the end. What he said before was just a joke. Who would take it seriously? As long as they took advantage of this moment of ascension to kidnap Yang Chen's family without anyone noticing, they would let the other sects be suspicious, and the Ghost Soul sect would hold a lot of benefits in their hands first. If I say no, what will happen? Yang Chen asked calmly without any panic on his face. Not to mention Yang Chen, even the faces of the women didn't show any panic. Even if his family couldn't beat them, Big Brother Li Cheng was in the Dragon Palace. Back then, he punched his husband's Tai Chi golden ball. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. How could they not be confident? Then I'm sorry. Sometimes we don't want to hurt people, but we are not afraid of hurting people. The almighty immortal who spoke seemed to be a big figure of the Ghost Soul sect. He shook his head very disdainfully. Don't think that you can defeat him in the spiritual world and think that you are powerful. To be honest, you are still far from it. If I were you, I would obediently give in, and I will let you live. I will accept your wives and concubines. It just so happens that the sect lacks a batch of good cauldrons. You came at the right time. What if he says he doesn't want to? Yang Chen shrugged his shoulders, pointed to another direction, and asked. Chapter 2495. The experts of the Ghost sect were shocked. They had checked the area several times before they came, and there were no other cultivators at all. Who was the person Yang Chen mentioned? Several experts quickly turned in that direction. More than a dozen flying sword magic weapons had already flown in that direction before they turned their heads. This was the normal way for cultivators to deal with sneak attacks. As long as they felt that there was a problem in that direction, they would greet the enemy with the flying sword magic weapons. If they really did not know where the other party was hiding, they would use a self-exploding magic weapon. The power of the explosion could always force the enemy out. After the flying sword magic weapons were greeted, they used their divine senses to explore. This exploration did not matter, but the cultivators of the Ghost sect were really scared. The result of their divine senses showed that there were more than 30 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals in that direction. What made them even more frightened was that there were 5 Infinite Tribulation True Immortals in the other party's team. No wonder they had checked several times before, but did not find any trace of the other party. The other party's cultivation was much higher than theirs. The weakest one was comparable to the strongest in their team. It would be strange if they could find him. At this time, no one had the time to find out how Yang Chen found these cultivators. The experts of the Ghost sect immediately shrank the team a little and then faced the experts who suddenly appeared. This group of cultivators who suddenly appeared was more arrogant than the cultivators of the Ghost sect. Although they did not say it specifically, the way they stared at all the cultivators present clearly contained this meaning. To put it bluntly, they were simply looking down on people with their nostrils. Contemptible clowns. The leading Infinite Tribulation True Immortal just glanced at the group of Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals of the Ghost Sect and directly gave an evaluation. Then he ignored them and turned to Yangchun. Do you think a few Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals are enough to touch Master Yang's family? The 10,000 Tribulation True Immortal, who seemed to be very arrogant, calmly asked Yangchun, "Am I right, Master Yang?" Those who could ascend to the immortal realm were not fools. They were not the kind of hotheads who would get angry easily. Even the experts of the Ghost Sect did not show their anger in front of Yangchun. They just said in the most ordinary tone that they wanted to imprison Yangchun's family. This time, it was the same as if these were really some small things not worth mentioning. Yes, they are too arrogant. Yangchun nodded in agreement, completely ignoring the angry eyes of the experts of the Ghost Sect. The Ghost Sect sent so many Zenith Golden Immortals to deal with just 40 juniors at the early stage of Golden Immortal Yangchun. However, the weakest among the group of experts who suddenly appeared was a peak-perfected Golden Immortal, stronger than the strongest among them. Although the people of the Ghost Sect were angry, they did not dare to act rashly. They just stared at Yangchun and the group of strangers angrily, waiting for the opportunity. The Ghost Sect sent so many Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals to deal with 5 Infinite Tribulation True Immortals. Although the people of the Ghost Sect were angry, they were not fools. They just stood there obediently and did not dare to provoke them. The leading expert of the Ghost Sect was a little regretful. He had known that Yangchun was a big piece of meat, but he did not expect that he had underestimated the attraction of Yangchun's things. Even the Infinite Tribulation True Immortals were sent here. Those who could spread their fame to the immortal realm from the spiritual realm were really not ordinary. Even the Infinite Tribulation True Immortals were tempted. If he had known this, he would have invited a few more ancestors of the sect. This was troublesome. If the other party had the same purpose as the Ghost Sect, the fate of the experts of the Ghost Sect could be imagined. Other than being silenced, he couldn't think of any other way to deal with it cleanly and without leaving behind any future troubles. Master Yang, let's join hands and escape. The voice of the leading expert of the Ghost Sect suddenly rang in Yangchun's ears. This was a kind of secret sound transmission technique, which could pass one's own meaning to Yangchun in a calm manner. The situation was not good. The leader of the Ghost Sect immediately changed his position and hoped to join hands with Yangchun to defeat the enemy. As for why the other party said that the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals were not good enough, he just pretended not to hear it. To be honest, as a disciple of the Ghost Sect, he was also a master who could dominate a region. He had never been ignored like this. But the current situation forced him to make this kind of posture. Otherwise, the Yangchun family would probably be fine, and they would have to be killed. Master Yang is a smart man. How could you do such a stupid thing? The unfamiliar Infinite Tribulation True Immortal did not care about the little tricks played by the people of the Ghost Sect at all. He still said with a smile, "Am I right, Master Yang? They are not your friends." The heart of the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal of the Ghost Sect sank when he heard this. The other party knew his little tricks and let him do whatever he wanted. It could only mean that the other party did not care. Moreover, the other party was right. If he was Yangchun, why would he cooperate with an enemy like him? Just now, he was arrogant and thought that he could control everything. But in the blink of an eye, he almost stepped into hell. It was not a good feeling. But no matter how bad it was, the people of the Ghost Sect could only endure it. After all, there were 5 Infinite Tribulation True Immortals who were sneering at them. If they behaved well now, they might be able to delay them for a while. If they fought, they would definitely die. Seniors, you look unfamiliar. May I know which side you are from? Yangchun asked calmly, as if he did not feel that he was in danger. You speak as if you are familiar with the experts of the immortal realm. Another Infinite Tribulation True Immortal replied with a sneer. Why don't you guess which side we are from? It's not difficult, Yangchun said calmly. These seniors of the Ghost Sect don't seem to know you. So, you are definitely not from the Ghost Sect. You don't seem to be from the Demon Sect either. Otherwise, they should know or have heard of you. Continue. The other party seemed to be very interested in it. He smiled and gestured to Yangchun to continue. You are not from the Demon Clan. I can see it. It was easy to distinguish between humans and demons. Without Yang Chun saying more, Yang Chun continued, Taoism doesn't look like it either. They kind of pick up their disciples, but they don't use such sneaky means. So many experts are dispatched at once. It seems that you are determined to win. Yang Chun smiled more brightly. My wife and I are so anxious to come here as soon as we arrived in the immortal realm. They must be afraid that we or something we have will fall into the hands of other sect. It seems that, from the analysis of these situations, there is only one possibility. Yang Chen looked at the infinite tribulation true immortals and said his guess, you are from the Zhao family. Only you know the real power of the mountain river geographical map. Am I right, senior? Chapter 2496. Clap, 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 clap. The two infinite tribulation true immortals who had just spoken clapped their hands. In the ears of the experts of the ghost sect, the sound of their clapping was no less than the sound of the soul-chasing tokens. They were from the Zhao family, which meant that there was no way to resolve this matter peacefully. Whether it was for the public or private reasons, they were doomed. Master Yang, no matter what, we have to join hands and send at least 1 or 2 people out. The leader of the ghost sect did not care about anything else at this moment. He directly said to Yang Chun, we are on the same side. Judging from what happened just now, I don't think so. Yang Chun shook his head and rejected directly. As soon as he came up, he wanted to imprison his own family. Yang Chun never felt that such a person was a friend. Master Yang, you are a smart man. The infinite tribulation true immortal of the Zhao family, who spoke first, clapped his hands and said, in fact, what the big sect is best at is burning bridges after crossing the river. You have just ascended, and you have not even crossed the river, but they are already burning bridges. You're not good people either. Yang Chen turned back and said mercilessly. His words shocked all the people of the ghost sect. At this time, Yang Chun still dared to provoke these people like this? Indeed, we are bad people, and we have never admitted that we are good people. The infinite tribulation true immortal who spoke first said, but do you want to get along with a real bad person or a group of hypocrites? Get along? Yang Chen laughed and then asked, how do you want to get along? Do you think we can get along with each other? In fact, we have a detailed understanding of what happened to the Zhao family in the spiritual world. The infinite tribulation true immortal said, the Zhao family was destroyed because they mistakenly believed in scoundrels. To a large extent, they deserved it. You can't be blamed. Not only did Yang Chun widen his eyes in disbelief, but the experts of the ghost sect also looked at each other in dismay. What the hell was going on? From the destruction of the Zhao family in the mortal world to the destruction of the Zhao family in the spiritual world, which matter could Yang Chun stay out of? But now, this guy in front of him just said that he deserved it for trusting a traitor? Yang Lan has the ambition of a wolf. Our younger generation did not see it. The guy on the opposite side seemed to be serious. At least when he spoke, he didn't seem to be joking at all. Yang Lan ruined the Taishaman in the mortal world and destroyed the Zhao family in the spiritual world. To be honest, Grandmaster Yang, we are quite grateful that you killed Yang Lan. This time, not only were the people of the ghost spirit sect confused, but even Yang Chen's wives and concubines were the same. Speaking of it, what Yang Chun did in the spiritual world could almost be said to have killed the Zhao family. How come in this guy's mouth? He became the benefactor who killed Yang Lan to avenge the Zhao family. Just tell me why you're here. Yang Chun smiled and asked non-committally, it's not good to hide it like this. Since that's the case, I'll be straightforward. The other party didn't mind. Instead, he was very happy. Talking about things should be so simple. It would be nice to not have to talk about it for a long time. Grandmaster Yang, although you have ascended, the position of Chunyang Palace in the immortal world is very delicate. The other party didn't care whether the masters of the ghost spirit sect were there or not at all. He said to himself, you have accepted the disciples of the mysterious heaven sect in the spiritual world, but the mysterious heaven sect above is not very happy about this. This was a big problem and a very tricky one. This was why Yang Chun insisted that the disciples of Chunyang Palace stay in the spiritual world, and he ascended first. It was all for the sake of finding a suitable solution. Of course, this was the speculation of others, and it was the common view of all cultivators. In Yang Chen's view, this problem was actually very easy to solve. As long as the mysterious heaven sect was turned into Chunyang Palace, it was just that others couldn't think of the mystery behind it. Without strong support, Chunyang Palace will soon be divided up. The Zhao family's innumerable tribulation true Immortal said very sincerely, "The immortal world is different from the mortal world and the spiritual world. The mysterious heaven sect is not happy with you, and Chunyang Palace will never have a chance to develop." So, Yang Chun continued his words. "So, the Zhao family can cooperate with you, Grandmaster Yang. The Zhao family's innumerable tribulation true Immortal was unprecedentedly serious. We are willing to support Chunyang Palace to establish a foothold. When necessary, we will send a large number of masters to join Chunyang Palace, so that Chunyang Palace can become a real super sect in the immortal world. Won't it arouse suspicion to casually send masters to join Chunyang Palace?" As Yang Chen spoke, he glanced at several masters of the Ghost Spirits sect casually. Or are the higher-ups of the big sect in the immortal world stupid? They can't even see through this little trick? As long as one of the masters says that he is the founder of Chunyang Palace, who can say no? The Zhao family's innumerable tribulation true Immortal glanced at those masters of the Ghost Spirit sect disdainfully, as if he was looking at a group of dead people. Do other sects not allow the founder of Chunyang Palace to join Chunyang Palace? Those masters of the Ghost Spirit sect were completely desperate at this moment. Such a big conspiracy was revealed by the masters of the Zhao family in front of them. It was absolutely an extravagant hope for them to leave alive. Yang Chun could not help but admire these guys of the Zhao family, who used such an almost impeccable excuse to plan the whole thing. The magical rise of Chunyang Palace was really a miracle. So many people in the immortal world did not even know who the founder of Chunyang Palace was. Even for most of the disciples of Chunyang Palace, the founder was just a name, and they did not know what the specific image was. Even Yang Chun, in the memory of his previous life, had not seen the founder of his sect in the immortal world. This also meant that if the Zhao family really used such a means, the possibility of success would not be low. Even the disciples of Chunyang Palace could not judge whether the other party was their own founder. How could the cultivators of other sect object to this? As long as Yang Chen nodded, it meant that Chunyang Palace could almost rise in the immortal world in an instant and become a big sect with a large number of masters and a lot of territory. If Yang Chun had the intention of strengthening the sect like the palace master, Yang Chun had almost no reason to refuse this condition. What do I need to pay? There was no free lunch in this world. If you want to get something, you must pay something. This was an unchanging truth. And what can I really get? Mountain River Geographical Map. We only want the Mountain River Geographical Map. What the Zhao family's true immortals most expected to hear was Yang Chen's conditions. As long as they could put forward conditions, there was a possibility of compromise. For this, they were willing to pay everything. All the masters who join Chunyang Palace will completely surrender to you. The real glory of the family, Chunyang Palace will become a super sect in the immortal world. As for the loss of your wife's life source magic weapon, we are willing to exchange it with Li Jing's pagoda.